Welcome back to another Conductor Sunday live stream on a Monday. I know yesterday, technically I shouldn't have done the live stream, but it was Mother's Day. And happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. If all the moms didn't read my post, but we have a amazing show tonight. A lot of topics to break down and some amazing guests that are going to break all this theme park news down. But I'm going to start one by one. And we're going to bring on first the one, the only Mr. Orange Go 55 with that wild, wicked patent hair I love so much. How you doing, and where can everyone find you on social media?
Yeah, thank you for having me. We have a great panel tonight. Everyone's going to have a great time. You can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking theme park, studio, corporate, all that good stuff. And you can find me on Instagram and X, Orange Grove 55. Let's go. There you go.
See,
there you go.
I'm getting into it. That's awesome. That's
there
awesome.
You go,
oh, geez. Okay, I'm going to leave the obvious gentleman last because he has a story behind his little facade there. But we got the one, the only Mr. Vast Sky from Vast Sky Parkcast. Haven't had him in a long time on the show, so glad to have him back on. How you doing, Vash, today? And where can everyone find you on social media?
Well, the best place to find me on social media is going to be at Vash Sky on X and also to the Vash Sky Parkcast on YouTube. We're doing all kinds of great stuff over there every single Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, every single Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and every single Saturday for members only over there at 3 p.m. Eastern. This week, though, we might be starting just a little bit early on Thursday, so definitely tune in, starting around, I think 6:30 Eastern would be a good time in order to go over these stories because there is so much going on, Theme Park Conductor. It is absolutely insane. I can't wait to break down at least some of it with you all.
Absolutely, and it's great to have you on. Again, definitely everybody go check out Vash's newest channel. Has some of the best amazing content I've seen. Orange Grove has been on there, and Jared has been on there as well. So definitely go show him some love and support.
Vash is exceptional when it comes, especially when it comes to like just the details, the research, and all that stuff. Like he breaks it down like no other. So yeah, check him out, everybody.
Thank you so much.
And we got Mr. Top Gun over here with his sunglasses. The one, the only Mr. Jared from Capture the Magic. First of all, how you doing? By the way, where can everyone find you on social media? And the third question, obviously, I have to state is, where'd you get those sunglasses?
Well, first off, I'm doing great, as the sunglasses can show. You can find me at Cap the Magic here on YouTube and social media and all those places. And I'm happy to be here. And I will just, the story behind these is it was one of those deals where it was, I think you paid $10. I just wanted this shaker bottle, and it came with these sunglasses, and they say, if you can see them, they say America on them. And I was like, you know what? We're getting close to summer here. I need some cool American shades, and that's it. I'm not gonna leave them on the whole time. I just thought they looked cool, and I did see Maverick again the other day, and I was like, these are very fitting. So I figured I would bring them with the live stream here. But no, I'm happy to be here. There is a ton of stuff going on. Like it seems like every week it's just like I have to narrow down things to do videos on. I'm like, what? Like, can we, like, it feels like sometimes you go through like where there's nothing and you're just scraping for things. And now it's like, there's so much stuff going on. I can't even figure out what to talk about, but yeah, happy to be here though.
No, 100%. Great to have you guys on. And we already got 2 super chats. So I want to bring those up real quick. We got Kiki and Luca for 4 months of membership for Conductor Ultimate Fan membership. Thank you, Kiki and Luca. We also have 22 months. I think that's for OG. Again, big supporter, Kiki and Luca. The first thing I want to bring up, because this actually broke, I think today, if I'm not mistaken. Let me share my screen real quick and we could talk about it. Because actually we're just talking about it, believe it or not, before we went on. Jeff Vahle, president of Walt Disney World Resort, announces retirement. OG, I'm going to start with you, kind sir. What do you think about this?
Well, I actually My opinion. Okay, here's my opinion. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna defer this to Vash first because I think because Vash, I don't want to take credit for his theory, and I think his theory is absolutely correct. So I'll let Vash go first because I think he's spot on. Go ahead, Vash.
Well, this is a very interesting set of events that have transpired here today because this has been, I think, in the making for a little while. When Josh Amaro was selected to be the CEO of the Walt Disney Company back in February of this year, that all ushered in the next incoming questions, which was, okay, who is going to take over for the experiences division as a whole as chairman? And there were a number of people that were actually on that list. My list actually included Jeff Vahle. Actually, I was saying that he might get the job because obviously if you're running the flagship location in this experiences division that covers parks, cruise lines, everything else, well, then probably you are the guy that's going to be the next chairman. And certainly that's what happened with Josh Amaro, right? Josh Amaro, he was the president of Disneyland, then the president of Walt Disney World, and then made the chairman of the Experiences Division when Bob Chapek took that role as CEO. So it was like, okay, well, it looks like it's just going to follow this line. But we also were covering at the time as well Thomas Moslem making moves of his own. Thomas Moslem, at that point, the president of Disneyland, and having that big media symposium and so forth, having everybody come in and come on and letting them know what the improvements that they were actually going to bring to Disneyland, everything like that. And that struck me as, okay, this is his attempt to get this role, this chairman role. Sure enough, Thomas Moslem did end up getting the role, bypassing Jeff Vahle, again, who had a bit more of a prestigious flagship resort underneath him at the time. And so it's, some people were taken surprised by it. Others were not. I think Thomas Moslem is the guy. But then the question then became, okay, well, what does Jeff Vahle do now? I was hearing reports at the time that, Jeff Vahle, he didn't really want the position. He would have passed it over and so forth. It was really Thomas Moslem's to have and all of that. But I'm like, well, if in fact he's being passed over, then that suggests that he doesn't have any upward momentum within the company, right? There is nowhere for him to go at that point, because we can only assume that Josh Amaro is going to be the CEO for, pending events, I guess, that are going to take place in C-suite over the next couple of years, at least the next 5 years, right? And then Thomas Moslem, one would suggest that he's going to be there for at least 5 years as well. So where does that place Jeff Vahle going forward? If in fact he's not moving up, every other move would either be lateral or in many cases actually a downgrade. So sure enough, we do get the announcement today that he's leaving. And only weeks after, by the way, he left. Weeks after Thomas Moslem left his position as president and ascended to the chairman position. So that only leaves one thing. He wanted the chairman position himself. Now he knows he can't get that. Now he knows that he has no upward momentum within the experiences division as a whole. He probably has no upward momentum within the company at all. So now it's time to step out. Unfortunately, what he's left behind is, well, a Walt Disney World going through a tremendous expansion process, right? And I say that loosely because it required a lot of destruction, right? Especially of the Frontierland area. Rivers of America is completely gone, as we know. It's an active construction site. We've seen maybe some downgrades in some areas from Frontierland, like the Country Bridge Jamboree, for instance, or maybe even parts and portions of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. We have Animal Kingdom torn up. We have Disney Hollywood Studios torn up. We have all these things happening. And on the cusp of all of these things being better utilized than they ever have been, according to Jeff Vahle, well, he is now out. So I think myself personally, he wanted that job, couldn't get it, didn't get it, now he's gone. And really the big question is, who's going to take his place now? Because that's an open discussion.
Yeah, no, 100%, Vash. And that's why you laid that out perfectly. And, Vahle has been like you were saying, he wanted to better utilize a lot of things, right?
Right. He considered these spaces underutilized.
Yeah. And I'm glad that he decided his position was underutilized, and we're going to better utilize his position now.
It's hatred of water finally over. I feel like Jeff Vahle literally threw a grenade and just I'm out, and just sets out, because everything I had heard, the Rivers of America going away, was a lot of it was because of him.
Right.
Really wanting more, I guess you could say, ROI from that area of the park. And I didn't talk to somebody that's in a certain department of the company, and did tell me like there were alternative ways brought to them that they could retain the rivers. And basically every time Jeff Vahle was like, no, it's like, well, okay. So it is interesting. I completely agree with Vash. I think it was totally why he's stepping down, is because he did not get that chairman position.
Well, and so that also presents an interesting question as well, which is why was he passed over, right? Because for all intents and purposes, he really should have been the guy. If you're handling the flagship resort of the entire company as it exists, right? Why wouldn't you be the guy that would be the experiences chairman? Well, and I started looking over his past and looking over the history of what actually happened. And I think it's a couple of reasons. One is Thomas Muslim. Remember, before he was the president of Disneyland Resort, he was also the president of cruise lines for a long time. And you know, getting out of COVID, people felt like, is cruise line even going to be a thing anymore? Is anybody going to take a cruise anymore? But we know that not only did cruise line come back, but for Disney Cruise Line, as part of the Walt Disney Company, it was a thriving sector within the experiences division. And because they're dedicating so many resources on an ongoing basis, they want 13 ships by, I think, 2031? That, you know, that is the company expressing confidence in the cruise line division. And so just like Josh Giamaro, in which the company expressed confidence in the experiences division and making him the CEO, they expressed confidence in the cruise lines and making the guy who was really a part of this recent success as chairman. Now, conversely, you look at Jeff Vahle, honestly, 2025 was a joke in terms of attendance. I mean, attendance was really down in the summer of 2025, and that was occurring with the opening of Epic Universe, right? I think a lot of people felt that maybe the Epic Universe thing was a little bit fumbled. They could have had a little bit more promotions, getting people into the parks themselves. They could have done some things that really leaned into nostalgia, leaned into their strengths as a resort, and get people over from Epic Universe. I don't know if they capitalized that to the degree that I think they were thinking. And honestly, over the last couple of years, Walt Disney World hasn't been a huge driver, not in the way that Cruise Line has. And so that lack of confidence, I think, is what maybe kind of did Jeff Vahle in. And I think now it is time to move on.
I agree. And here's the thing. I think his name was Gorman, right? The guy who was leading the succession plan.
James Gorman, yeah.
James Gorman.
James Gorman, yeah.
James Gorman. And one of the big things that James Gorman wanted to do was retain talent. I remember reading that in one of the trades, you know, and so they made sure Dana Walden got her cushy promotion, and they were making sure that the people they wanted were locked in, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Vahle wasn't, though. He wasn't locked in.
Right. And this could have been. Oh, go ahead, Jared.
I think this is the only guy we've seen that is not sticking around because they did make that very much a thing that they wanted all these people to stay. I think he's the first one that we've seen that's stepping down.
Right. And it could have been really. Honestly, it could have been just, hey, maybe we think Jeff Vahle's just not worth retaining, right? Because when they were handing out big contracts to all these people to retain them, as OG beautifully pointed out right there, I think it was the Wall Street Journal that originally had that or something like that. Remember, Dana Walden got a higher base pay than Josh Giamaro did in order to keep her around, along with a lot of the roles and creative roles and so forth, put gaming under her and all that. They did a lot to retain her. They did a lot to retain a lot of executives within C-suite. It could have been that Jeff Vahle was just, maybe his contract was up for negotiation. And maybe it was, hey, you know, do we retain this guy? Did he really perform to our expectations? Does he really deserve that big contract? Maybe they didn't want to give it to him. You know, it could have been something like that. Or they just couldn't incentivize him to stay on longer in order to retain his services.
Well, Vash, let me ask you something. This is kind of just going out on a whim here. Sure. You know, like you said, you know, handing out all these big contracts to all these executives to stay within the Walt Disney Company. Do you think they did that? One of the reasons is because they have some type of insight that they may jump to the other side of the harbor. And what I mean by that is going to Universal, going to Comcast, and kind of learning what they learned from the Walt Disney Company and then incorporating that in the Universal. Because even I forgot who said it, but Disney themselves even admitted that Epic Universe, when it first opened, actually not damaged, but ate into some of the numbers for the Orlando market.
Well, you know, you kind of see that, honestly, with how fast they're moving on all these expansions at Disney World. I mean, Disney World historically hasn't really moved that fast. They're only moving fast because Epic Universe is in their backyard now. Go ahead, Vash. I do apologize.
No. You're exactly right there, OG. Because I think that's exactly why they're moving fast now, because they're playing catch up. And honestly, they really did not meaningfully expand in the years directly leading up to Epic Universe's release or opening, right? I mean, there were so many years outside of like Epcot, and even Epcot wasn't that ambitious, right? That was cut back a lot. They weren't really investing heavily into the parks, not to the extent that they are now. So to Theme Park Conductor's point, they could be looking across the way and saying, okay, what are they doing? Are there any executives that we could potentially poach for these different things? Remember, there was a theory out there that we heard. I think OG, I think you were telling me this as well, where maybe Mike Cavanaugh, the current co-CEO of NBC Universal, right, or Comcast, maybe he was elevated in his co-CEO position specifically because the worry was that he was going to be poached by Disney. Because honestly, of all the companies out there that are even run anywhere close to Disney, one could presume that Comcast would fit that bill. And so that's an idea. It's certainly an interesting thing that could have transpired. Maybe they were looking at other, I don't know about Mark Woodbury, but some other Universal destinations, experiences, executives, and saying, okay, maybe they would be up to the task here. And maybe it's like, hey, look, listen, we don't necessarily have to pay you, Jeff, to retain your services, because honestly, you haven't been doing all that well, and maybe there are better people on the board. So I think all these things are possible.
Something that struck me about this with Masloom's experience in cruise, I've had this little, wouldn't call it a pet theory. I'm sure other people have talked about it before as well, but I think the way Disney is looking to expand is not in the Orlando market as much. I think they're kind of more or less trying to retain their market share, fend off Universal. I think they see a lot of growth in the cruise line, obviously. And I think that is what they're going to try and leverage much more growth out of the experiences end.
Yes.
So if you look at that and Masloom has the experience there, it actually makes sense of like what their focus is. I suppose if your focus was the parks, Vahle makes sense. If it's the cruise lines, Masloom also probably makes more sense there, and he also has experience with Disneyland, and that probably is what it is. But I think in the future Universal will get in on the cruise game at some point. But that if you look at like you were saying before, how many more ships they're going to build in the coming years, this is where. Tremendous. And if you look at the cost of them, I think it probably is going to end up being what would be 2 or 3 theme parks to build that they're going to invest into the cruise lines. And so it's not just a small little amount of money. It's a really big focus.
100%. So it's a huge big focus for them. It's absolutely why they chose Thomas Masloom. There's no question about it in my mind. Now when looking at all of these things historically, now when looking at all these things, retrospectively, absolutely. There's no question. Just like Josh G. Amaro was selected for the CEO position. That was the company saying, we have a lot of confidence in experiences. This is the way we're going to go as a company. This is why we're choosing this guy. Just like that, Thomas Masloom was selected because they believe cruise line is definitely the thing to go. And honestly, when you look at it, it's like, okay, you spend $1.5 billion on a cruise ship. You run that thing for 25 years. It just keeps making money, keeps making money. Versus you put $1.5 billion in Walt Disney World, you might not see it.
Yeah.
No, it'll take forever.
That's a great point. Jared, I want to ask you a question because you're the only Florida guy with us today.
Florida man.
You're the only Florida man with us today. So as a Florida man, like, what do you hear? Like, how do you feel? Like, I mean, because I don't know. For me as a Californian, I didn't like Vahle. I thought he was pretty weak and kind of a dork. I don't know. I just never really liked him, to be honest with you. But I mean, how do the Florida fans feel about him? Do you guys like him, or is he kind of
Most people aren't really aware of him that much unless you're into theme parks a lot. I've always felt he's very milquetoast. Like, I didn't have much of an opinion about him. I did learn some things from some people inside the company. Again, talking about the rivers and things, like he was the main reason as to why the rivers and stuff like that. So I think he had some very specific points of view about the way to monetize these parks that I don't think, I'm not going to say Imagineers aren't happy with it, but I think a lot of them were kind of frustrated by that method, which way they were going with stuff like that. So I would say the general public probably not too aware of him. I've never heard anybody like love him or really hate him. It's just sort of like he's there. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I suppose if you don't feel one way or the other about somebody, it's kind of like, well, are you doing, which way are you going sort of thing. But personally, I think there could be much better presidents of Disney World than him personally, from what I have seen.
No, 100%. No, I just want to read the super chat. I don't know if
Please.
it's for Vash or for OG, but it's from XVoot85, $20 super chat. They say Vash is right. Disney underestimated Epic Universe. I think Disney will continue to underestimate, and Universal will grow its market share. Universal passing Disney is 20 years away, but if Disney continues to ignore it, it could happen.
Yeah. I think this. Oh, go ahead, please.
Well, no, I mean, and that's why, that's why they're freaking. They're kind of like kind of freaking out a little bit, where they're really rushing those Florida projects. They do have a sense of urgency we haven't seen in Florida in a really long time, and it is that Universal element, right? And even out here in California, I mean, look, Universal Hollywood is a smaller park. I understand that. It's never going to be the 2-park resort or even 3-park resort we have out here in Disneyland, right? But I mean, their after-hours game is way better than Disney's. Oh, way better. I mean, there are elements of that park that is really blowing Disneyland resort stuff out of the water. So Disney should take notice for Universal. It's a tough. Here's the thing with Disney. It's really tough to kind of overcome Disney, because Disney isn't just a company. It's so like tied into our culture. Yeah. So that's a huge knot to untie. And Universal's not going to undo that overnight, but they can chip away at it, and it can take, maybe a generation or so. But I mean, it's possible. I mean, there was a time when I was a kid, dude. When I was a kid, the Sears catalog was like the thing. Oh, like, for Christmas, the Sears catalog, Jared knows.
Oh, yeah.
Sears catalog, well, as I go through there and I pick all my Nintendo games out, right? That was the dude, that company is gone after 100+ years. So never rest on your laurels. Yes, Disney's a big corporation. Yes, they're successful right now, but that doesn't mean they're always going to be that way.
Well, and it was really interesting to hear Disney acknowledge Epic Universe for the first time in this last earnings call.
Yep, I was going to mention that too. Yep.
Oh, Jared. Okay, well, Jared had it right there. But look, a lot of people were like, "Hey, with Josh Amaro, now they're starting to acknowledge this." But I think the other thing too is that they've been forced to, because you've seen earnings after earnings after earnings for Comcast, their theme park division, going up by double digits, and we haven't really seen that much growth in Disney. Now, we've seen some great revenue gains and some great even OI gains, right? Operating income, but we really haven't seen that much in the way of attendance. And actually, if you look at if you graph it out over next last 6 years or so, or maybe not that long, maybe like 3 years, something like that, we've seen some like 1% declines. 2% declines over the quarters, right? And all of that kind of stacks up. So Disney, to OG's point, right? Disney is not quite growing at the same rate as Universal. And I mean, I don't think they believe the Disney World Enterprise is a legacy product, right? And in which your growth is just not going to be as exponential as maybe where Universal is, but you certainly don't want to lose as much market share as maybe they are. And so when you look at Jeff Valley's performance, honestly, why would you keep him?
100%.
Well, and I think it does point to, like, on the earnings call, like, I do think there's a shift in the company's demeanor under Amaro, because under Iger, it was like Voldemort. We are not going to say Epic Universe. We're not going to say Universal. And anytime it's asked, we already knew about it. We had a plan in place, like all this stuff. And nobody, I don't really think, believed it. Like when Iger said those things, you're just like, okay. But they literally twice in there did admit that the headwinds of Epic. Then you had the whole battle with Florida, which I think the main reason as to why they didn't have anything to really rebuttal against Epic Universe, which I would argue yet again was Bob Iger's doing. I think he initiated that series of events that led to the battle with Florida and them losing the special district that delayed all these things. I don't know if they couldn't do it or they just weren't willing to commit the money while they were fighting with them. But now you're starting to see the ramifications of that, of now you're behind on these projects compared to Epic Universe. And, I said the entire time, Epic Universe wasn't going to be a Disney killer. That just was not going to be the case. But it is going to be something like you were saying, Vash. It's a market share game. You chip away, you try stuff. Universal is going to take more chances on things. Some stuff's going to hit, some stuff's not. Disney, companies get to this stage where they get risk averse. They don't want to have the big fumbles because they're going to have more of a spotlight. So they're going to try and play it safe more, which is always the danger you run into this, because it's like your competitor is being aggressive. They're trying stuff, and then you're not willing to take those risks. That is the situation, I think, like whether or not Universal ever gets, bigger than Disney, they both can succeed and be successful with both of them in the case. But Disney World's it's a city. I mean, to say you're going to be bigger than Disney World is such a feat. And they may never get there, but they don't have to be successful. They're already forcing Disney to make changes the way they do things. And I think you're just leading to a scenario where Universal and Disney are co-leaders in an industry. Once they get to like 35% market share, I think they're well on their way for that. For them to beat Disney would require Disney to not make it. Like, it's one of those games you have to play out where it's like, if they continue how they've been going, but more than likely they would make changes at some point. So I don't know. It could happen, but I think you're already seeing the impact of creative end of Disney, like reacting, looking at what Universal is doing, which they've been doing for some time. And I think this will continue until maybe Imagineering gets rehabbed to the point where they're now taking the chances of doing things. But as it stands now, it's kind of the inverse of that.
Well said.
Right.
Now, Kiki and Luca poses a great question here. And it's very relevant for us here in California, that's for sure. But he says, surprised entertainment outgrossed experiences in Q2 earnings. Do you think gas and inflation is affecting the parks? A tank of gas cost a Disney ticket. I mean, out here in California, I think it would probably impact more than maybe Florida. And the reason being is we have a lot of locals here who just drive from home to the parks and back, right? A lot of freeway, a lot of traffic. That's high gas prices. I mean, Florida is a little bit more, it's more touristy. So it's more flying and things like that. But I don't know. I mean, I think it would impact to some degree. What do you guys think?
Eventually, I think both Comcast and Disney were asked this question. They both said that they hadn't seen an impact yet. I think it just depends on how long these gas prices stay up, like how long that whole conflict happens. Like if it gets resolved sometime soon, it probably won't have a lingering impact. But if this goes on until the summer, it is definitely going to have an impact on attendance, undoubtedly.
No, 100%. I could see it myself, because I do agree with Kiki and Luca. Being that I live from Disney and Universal at least an hour away, I understand that statement, because it's not just the theme parks that are charging so much. Because I work in the customer service industry at Costco, and I'm even seeing things that have gone up in price. So I can kind of see it, but I can also kind of see how companies are starting to use that as an excuse. Oh, well, gas prices are going up, so we're going to up our prices. And I get it. It's a business. It's not a charity. But on the other hand, you're kind of using a crutch to justify your price increases temporarily. And I don't think that's fair to the consumer. Why should the consumer suffer under that weight when they're already dealing with high gas prices, high grocery prices, and like I said, I know it's not a charity, but in another aspect, stop using things like gas prices and grocery prices as a crutch. I'm sorry. I just see it that way.
So
gas. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, okay. So I've been kind of sorry. I've been a little silent because I've been trying to get to the bottom of what Kiki and Luca was saying. Yes, entertainment did bring in more revenue than experiences, but when you look at operating income, which is profit, it still doubled. Entertainment, 2.6 billion versus 1.3. So yes, entertainment might bring in more, but because of their unbelievable expenses that they incur, I should say, they simply cannot provide the margins that experiences does. And so that's kind of the difference maker when it comes to all that.
Sure. No,
well,
absolutely.
I was going to say one thing about gas prices is it causes like it's going to cause your shipping to go up, like manufacturing. Like it's one of those things that does touch so many different sectors that it just, if it costs more to ship it, it's going to cost. It's just one of those things that lingers around. But in the inverse, like if it does, like whenever the whole thing is wrapped up, like you should see those prices come down. And then the question there is, like you were saying, Conductor, has it been actually for that reason, or was it an excuse? Which is always a debate about these businesses. Like in even if I'd look at gas prices and say, like, we don't get any oil from, say, Iran, but yet the prices still go up. It's just a whole gambit and a market that's really complicated. But I think we haven't seen it yet. And I think that's the thing, is like over a few months. But if gas prices keep going up, I imagine Disney World would get hit more, like you were saying, OG, than Disneyland, because of this year. Now, you also have the Spirit Airlines thing as well, which may not be a small thing either. With that going under, a lot of people flew. So you may have people, is it cheaper to drive and take the time? I think a lot of people would still go on trips and just drive instead of fly, but it can change consumer behaviors in terms of like how they travel and if they're actually going to travel. It's a legitimate concern to have, even if they haven't felt the, impact of it yet, at least.
I wanted to bring that up too, because Disney was asked about this on the call, I believe. And they said that they have more levers to pull if, in fact, something actually happens, right? If, in fact, gas prices do skyrocket out of control, there could be some things that they could actually do. But, Walt Disney World, like you said, Jared, I think you're exactly right. Walt Disney World more vulnerable than Disneyland. Disneyland, people, you drive everywhere. Are you going to drive to Disneyland? Probably, right? If 75% of your annual attendance comes from within 250 miles, that's a lot more manageable than maybe my way to get to Walt Disney World was Spirit Airlines. Now it's no longer operational, right? This is what happened during the 1970s oil crisis. Disneyland was okay. Walt Disney World, not that same way. People simply couldn't get to their vacation destination. And so when it comes to the future of Walt Disney World, right, it's a very crucial time for them, because Walt Disney World is a little bit more vulnerable, and because they're going through so much construction. So that really, when we're trying to map out who might be in this position going forward, right, taking Jeff Vahle's position, maybe Michael Moriarty, who was the guy who led Hong Kong Disneyland for a little bit of time. Maybe he's the guy that you actually put in this position. Or maybe it's Natasha Rafalski, Disneyland Resort president over there in Paris. Maybe, somebody who has a little bit of experience with construction, a little bit of experience with a resort that doesn't operate on all cylinders all the time. Maybe that's the person you put in here, at least at this time, to get us through what is going to be a little bit tumultuous until these new experiences start opening up.
And it makes sense, Vash, because we just got that new Disneyland president that oversaw the international parks. And
Jill Astorino.
Yeah, Jill Astorino. And I'm very curious what her idea and her vision is with Disneyland, now knowing that Disneyland Forward is approved. Because one of the things we looked at, me and OG did a episode on This Week in Disney News on his channel, and we were talking about Coco, we were talking about Avatar, and one of the things people are speculating about is how Avatar is going to fit in that Hollywood backlot, how they're going to justify it, what they're going to take out, what they're going to leave, how they're going to fit it, what's the experience going to be like, what's the storytelling going to be like, and then Coco, and then what's going on at oh my god, the Simba parking lot. Then people's questions keep popping up. What's the future of Tomorrowland now with Autopia again electrified? There's all these questions, and I think people have a lot of high hope that she's going to bring her experience from overseeing the international parks and really kind of just jumpstart the Disneyland Resort.
Yeah, Oh, go ahead, please. No, you're exactly right. That's why they went with Jill. Jill was a gal who oversaw not just those international parks, but also too, like you were bringing out, she oversaw those expansions, right? Those big projects, those big things that you would want somebody to facilitate the construction umbilicus for. You would want somebody to be in a position who had experience about how do we run an operating theme park with so much change. That's who you want, and I think that's why Estorina was put in that position. But here's the thing, Conductor, is she's so good at this that maybe they say, you know what? Just have her be the president of Walt Disney World. That is a possibility as well. Now, I know that's crazy, but it has happened kind of before. Remember, Josh Amaro was in there not too long before he was made the president of Walt Disney World. And remember, Rebecca Campbell was in there for a little time, and then Ken Potrock, right? So we have seen executives basically touch down and then, lift right off and go over to other resorts in the past. It wouldn't surprise me that they may move Jill in that position. What would surprise me, though, some people were advocating for the vice president of Walt Disney World to be the president of Walt Disney World. I don't think that's going to be the case, because for a flagship like this, you really want somebody who's run a resort prior, not just who's a VP for one. So that's going to be the other thing.
Do we think it's also possible that is it Vahle or Vahle? You say his last name. Is it Jeff Vahle?
I say Jeff Vahle.
Yeah. Okay. I always thought it was. I don't know. Either way, do we think maybe he's not a DeMauro guy? Like, I wonder if that's a possibility. I mean, we'll never know outside of like somebody writing a book about it, but it's interesting. It kind of makes me wonder about like people inside the company, and like everybody has questions about how much of the stuff going on in the parks was DeMauro, how much that was Iger, all these other things. Like, maybe he just wasn't a guy that DeMauro wanted, and we're seeing a quiet push out. I mean, it's always possible. I don't know what that would mean, and if there's anybody else he wants, but I think that's always a possibility, maybe.
Whether or not he was a DiAmaro guy, open question. But we know that DiAmaro, and in terms of his guys, he wasn't he was not a Vahle fan, because if he was, he would have been the experiences chairman. That's the fact that he wasn't, right? Yeah. So maybe you could infer from what's going on here. Maybe they they don't quite see eye to eye on all these different things. It's possible. I suppose it'll be inconsequential here in June or July, when he actually makes his retirement official.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be looking to the future.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's very interesting too when these new people take over as CEO, right?
Right.
It's very interesting to see who peels off and leaves and who they bring in. Right. Yep. We saw a lot of that with Bob Chapek. He brought in Kareem Daniels, go a bunch of people. So it seems like there is a little bit of that here. I think it's like a multi-pronged thing. Yeah, I think Vahle is kind of seeing the writing on the wall. There's no room to go up. That's definitely part of it. At the same time, I think you guys are also right. He probably doesn't have the same kind of vision. Like, he's not in line with the DeMauro team necessarily.
Sure.
So he's expendable. They're gonna cut him from the squad.
I think so. And again, this follows a long line here, guys. Remember back in the mid 2010s when this happened, a similar situation happened with Tom Staggs and Jay Rasulo. Bob Iger had this grand plan. Okay, let's go ahead and take the CFO, switch it with the chairman of the Parks and Resorts Division, right? Switch the two, see who actually comes out on top. It was clear that Tom Staggs was the guy, and when that was made clear, that's when Jay Rasulo left the company, because, well, he's got no upward momentum, right? There's if Tom Staggs is the guy, clearly I'm not. I'm going to leave. And then, unfortunately, Tom Staggs, well, he didn't end up being the guy. Maybe should have been the guy, but that's a whole other can of worms right there. But we see this all the time, where if somebody's passed over, they go somewhere else. And this is what James Gorman was trying to prevent. But maybe Jeff Vahle isn't a guy worth retaining.
100%.
That's what I think it is. I just think he wasn't worth retaining, And I mean, as a fan, I don't think he's worth retaining. So I don't know. I can only imagine, right?
I think so. I think you're right. OG. And honestly, there is a segment of the fan base who is very happy to see him retire.
Oh, I saw a lot of people happy about this.
Yeah. And you're not wrong. So I hope whoever they choose to run the Walt Disney World Resort can handle it. I'm sure they can, because I personally, I don't want to see a Bob Chapek move. where they bring in a new guy or they bring in a guy that's been within the company and just starts destroying stuff and making it worse than when the former president was there. So that's what I don't want to see. I don't
think that's going to happen. I think that the Maslam, I always mispronounce his name. I do apologize, but like Maslam wasn't a terrible decision.
No.
And so I think he's going to pick someone decent.
Well, and here's the thing: when it comes to Walt Disney World, how much worse can it get?
That's true.
It's the bar is pretty low. I suppose it always could get worse, but I agree with you, theme park conductor. I'm hoping that it doesn't get worse. I do think the bleeding might stop here because just look, the trajectory for Walt Disney World in the last 5-6 years has not been great. And I think the audience has responded to that. Might be why we're moving on.
Yep. Well, see, my thing is with Thomas Maslam is, because it's going to be my first time going to D23 Vash. So never been before. I'm going this year. Thank God. Because getting tickets was an absolute disaster. That's a whole nother thing. But I'm very curious what energy Thomas is going to bring to the stage at the Honda Center. Or is Thomas even going to be part of that? Is it going to be Bob Iger and Josh Amaro on stage?
No.
See, I don't know his intentions. You know what I mean? Like, I've never really seen him pump up a crowd. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out.
Maslam isn't really like, I get what you're saying. He doesn't exactly ooze charisma.
No.
But so you might have like a Amaro on there with Maslam or something, but I don't know.
Bring in Shapek from the bullpen. You want some charisma? Give the people what they want, man. Bring him in.
That would be funny. No, I think you would see Josh Amaro on there. And the reason why is because, remember, the board put confidence in him because he was an experienced guy, right? I think they would like to see Amaro up there as that kind of steady hand to ensure that all this stuff goes off swimmingly and that they have all the firepower necessary in order to stave off competition and also to usher us into the future. So I think they want Josh Amaro, maybe, the first couple D23 type events right there. He's up there. At a certain point, though, maybe he does, go up there by himself. But I think at first they get him out there with Josh. Now, Bob Iger will be on stage, just not for the Experiences Division panel or whatever. He's going to be up there in order to receive his Disney Legend Award.
Hey, don't even
to hear
golden cardigan will be raised at the rafters of the Honda.
Oh my God! The
sports reference.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, Jared and I, we've been talking about this for a while now. The Bob Iger thing, and I used to be a big Bob Iger guy.
I'm sure.
But dude, he has completely worn out his welcome. It's enough already. I am so tired of it.
To the Bob Iger Haters Club. I've been lonely here for a bit, but it's been populated more lately. You're gonna look up at those rafters, the championships, like, what's that golden cardigan up there? But like, oh, that's Bob Iger. He's a legend.
That's right. He's a legend.
Right next to the whoopee wig up there that they're gonna put.
Oh, 100%. Let me ask you guys this, and Jared, I'm going to start with you. Like OG mentioned, you're the only Florida guy on the panel tonight. Obviously we're seeing what used to be Star Wars Launch Bay at Hollywood Studios return to what it formerly was. And do you think the land that they're building, do you honestly believe it's a smart move, or do you think it was something they can slap together with some paint and some new signage and maybe a couple other new small things? Since, like Vash mentioned, Walt Disney World is like a construction zone. Every single park has some type of construction in it and walls everywhere.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a quick turnaround that they could do, because I think they learned their lesson last summer, which was shows and parades were not going to move the needle on attendance. I never thought that was going to be the case. I think they were outsold, that maybe they deluded themselves into thinking a bunch of these people were going to come over from Epic and they were just going to come check out the mermaid show, the villain show, the new parade. Didn't really pan out. So you do this quick turnaround. it goes into what this building used to be. So I think it's actually a good move for the park. It's a throwback a little bit to what, some of the animation stuff. They can turn around quick, and it gives them something to actually say it's a new experience to actually go check out. So I think potentially this is a good move. I wouldn't imagine it's that expensive to what they're doing in here, relatively speaking, to everything else that they're building. So I think I'm actually pretty bullish on this thing. I'm not as much about how they're not having actual animators do this stuff, how it's going to be like filmed and it's you know what I mean? Like they don't have an actual Disney animator in front of you drawing. I don't like that part of it. But I think as a whole, it'll be something that families can do. It kind of gets back to the roots. I remember as a kid doing this in this area of the park when they used to have the drawing experience. So I don't think it's going to move like tons of attendance, but I think it can be something that you can bolster about amongst other things like soaring across America. Like you throw in a lot of these things, it can lead to people, I think that's the question. Does it get people to visit now, which is going to be your challenge? Because a lot of people are going to look and say, well, even if we want to go, if we're going to spend all this money, let's just wait till these things are done before we spend all that money. But it probably speaks to more APs, Florida residents that kind of make more dedicated trips or something like that is my guess.
Let me ask you guys a question. I'm very curious what you guys think, because this park has been going through a transitionary time, right? So when it first opened, it was kind of like a Universal Studios almost, where it was kind of like, we're going to peel back the curtain and kind of show you the magic of movie making, right?
Yeah.
And then they kind of moved into like this thing where it's almost going to be like, hey, you're going to experience the worlds or the environments of your favorite franchises. So you're going to go into Toy Story Land and experience Toy Story. You're going to go into Batuu and experience the Star Wars Galaxy, whatever. You're going to go into now Monstropolis and experience, that world of monsters, right? But then you have other stuff like this mixed in, where this is like old school Universal. I mean, old school old school Disney Hollywood Studios, where it's almost like the studio stuff again. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like there's a little bit of a push and pull here with like the direction of the park? Because we're still getting backstagey stuff, but we're also saying, hey, you can actually experience these worlds. I don't like fleshed out. Like, is it a weird kind of contradiction, or are you good with that?
I don't think they know what to do with Hollywood Studios. It seems like a park that doesn't really have much of an identity. It kind of seems like if you don't know where to put it, it ends up in Hollywood Studios. I would love to know if they have some sort of plan of what they want it to really be. But if I were to guess, I would say this was low-hanging fruit where they were like, hey, we don't need Launch Bay anymore. Nobody's really going in here. If this now, it could make sense in hindsight that they're just like, we're going to end up putting the OG characters in Galaxy's Edge anyways. So we don't really need this area. It is a spot for kids and you got the show there. So like, it's just sort of like, well, let's just revamp the building, put a thing that used to be in this building and do that. I would love to know how much thought is into it and the identity, which you might be putting more thought into it than they have. But
probably right. Yeah.
It's kinda, they kind of want like you go into these worlds and also movie making magic. It's like it doesn't really fit, but it really hasn't made a lot of sense in Hollywood Studios for a bit, in my opinion.
100%. And we got another super chat from Cool Guy Green 1, $9.99 super chat. They say, back to after hours events. Have we ever considered that Universal Hollywood invests a lot into their after hours since they make up a big part of their yearly income? They don't have as much to offer as Disneyland. OG, what do you think about that?
I mean, that's a fair point. It is a smaller park, obviously. And like I said earlier on in the show, you're never going to get a 2-park Universal Studios Hollywood Resort. It's not going to happen unless that golf course, thing works out. We'll see. But it's a pipe dream. Exactly. So I think that Universal has been smart in utilizing stuff to maximize, basically making the best use of what they got. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's smart. I really think that's smart. But at the same time, just because they don't have as much, I think Disney still needs to pay attention to this.
They do,
because the Disney after hours events are I'm being polite when I say hit or miss, because usually they're not even that. Yeah. They're pretty bad.
Well, let me ask you this, since we're talking about after dark events before we go back to Hollywood Studios. Jared, you've done some After Dark events at Walt Disney World. I'm guessing.
Yes.
What is your experience out there with the After Dark events? Do you think they're valued? Do you think they're undervalued? Do you think it's the same thing year to year to year with maybe a sprinkle of some new stuff that's kind of hard to find, especially if you're doing it every single year? What do you think?
It's down here in Orlando, like Universal doesn't do a lot. I have heard rumblings that they're going to start doing some after-hour events for Epic, which I think would be something people would really get into. You're talking about you got Christmas party, Halloween parties, and then after-hour events that they've done at Disney. I think the after-hour events are really good. I think the ones at Magic Kingdom are the ones worth more of your money. The other ones, I don't think Animal Kingdom's worth it. Hollywood Studios is kind of hit and miss. Epcot can be kind of hit and miss. They're okay, but I would say the after hours events down here outside of the seasonal parties it's not a huge thing. And it might be because it's more of a touristy place versus Disneyland and out there in Hollywood and stuff. I feel like both of them could do better. And I do feel like Universal is going to start doing more stuff with that potentially. But I would say the best thing that Disney has done is those after hours events. Like those are pretty solid. I think they're a pretty good value for what you get. You get, especially Magic Kingdom, like you can walk onto most attractions. You got 3 hours, you got food and drinks included, or at least snacks and like sodas. So I think those are fun. But they haven't done, I don't know if they're doing them right now. They sometimes take breaks on those. But I mean, the Halloween parties are consistent, Christmas parties are consistent. They don't change a lot, but if you're somebody that's coming in for the holidays, like it's a consistent party people can check out. But I wouldn't say anything's like they're not breaking any molds by any means and some of the stuff that they're doing.
No, 100%. And I kind of agree with OG on this. The Disney After Dark events, I had a buddy that went to Disney Channel night, and I know how OG feels about this because Disney Channel hasn't really been relevant since the early 90s, maybe mid 90s. But I have had multiple people tell me that went to that event, they actually enjoyed it compared to all the other events. Because Oogie Boogie Bash, I'm going to be honest with you, at DCA, which Vash, you've been at DCA, right?
Oh yes, I've been to DCA's Oogie Boogie Bash on and off for the last few years. So I've seen it develop, I've seen it evolve, and well, I mean, I've seen the prices go up, but I've not seen much more in the way of added value.
Okay, the reason why I bring that up is because I've told OG this. Oh my God, I can't even count on my fingers. That's how many times me and him have talked about it. But I've always said that DCA kind of feels like that adult, park. And I kind of feel like they could go a little more edgier with that park, especially for Oogie Boogie Bash, and they choose not to. And a lot of times it's always the same thing year to year. And on top of that, if they do add something new, it's so minor. And like you said, Vash, they keep increasing the prices with no new experiences. The reason why Universal wins when it comes to After Dark events, whether it's Halloween Horror Nights, Grinchmas, Mega Movie Summer, or some of these other ones, Fan Fest, is because we see different experiences year to year to year. It's the same event, but with different experiences. And I kind of feel like Disney is kind of getting bullheaded and saying, you know what? Our events are already out there. People buy the tickets, they sell out. So why change something that's not broken?
Yeah. And I also think that at least for like Disneyland's biggest after hours party is certainly Oogie Boogie Bash. And I think company wide, it's just not looked at super fondly. I mean, you remember, guys, that Bob Chapek, his last earnings call he ever gave when confronted with the numbers surrounding Disney Plus and the multi-billion-dollar losses that they were incurring there at their DTC division. Remember, Chapek tried to, he tried to showcase the fact that Oogie Boogie Bash sold out and they had this great success, and it was like, okay, you're not the guy. And so that was it, right? So I kind of agree with Cool Guy Green. It's after hours parties, after hours events are baked into the culture, into the DNA of Universal. And I think, Jared, we talked about this before, how they're a little bit better predisposed to putting on events and switching things up, because that's kind of what they've been doing with their events all, their entire run, actually. Versus 100%. Disney, when they greenlight something, right, or they send cash towards a sector in which to host a new party or to provide entertainment for a party, they're doing it, 5 years, right? Like we'll earmark enough cash in order to have like a new parade, but it's going to be 5-10 years or whatever. And that works similarly with their after hours parties. Look at Jollywood Nights. That's like a while to develop, and they're still using a lot of the same assets that they came up with originally for that after hours event. And they've made some modifications, but not substantial modifications, right? That's just kind of how they operate. That's kind of what they do. And it's, getting more out of them there is a slow process. Whereas that's not the same, those same limitations don't exist at Universal. And that's kind of the big difference maker right there. I do think Universal relies a little bit more on that kind of income than maybe Disney. Sure. At Walt Disney World, that might be a different evaluation, because there's so many of those after hour parties, and they might actually be tying that into attendance as well, which is very, very interesting. There's been some discussion, some conversation about that as well.
I think they do.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they count people twice, right? And so that also is a thing that kind of gets factored in there. But for Walt Disney World, people keep coming back, so it's kind of like, well, why even do more? Oogie Boogie Bash, it's kind of the same way. People keep buying in, they keep selling out, and so it's like, why? What is the incentive for us to really add value?
And that's
just the thing. That's the market forces. Go ahead.
100%. And that's the frustrating thing, is that, like, as a fandom, we got to put our foot down every now and then. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I get kind of annoyed with that, because it's like, if you stop buying it, they will be forced to make it better. I mean, Universal. I mean, here's the thing, and this is the one thing Disney does that I think is a mistake. Disney leans way too heavily into nostalgia with their after hours events. Yeah. Like Disney Channel, like I said, Disney Channel is not really relevant anymore. You know what I'm saying? 90s night. It's all this nostalgic stuff. Meanwhile, Universal's putting that one piece and all these big cultural juggernauts in their after hours events. Go ahead.
Well, that's the weird thing, OG. I would normally agree with you. And I think overall, yes, they do lean into a little bit of nostalgia, but then sometimes they don't go far enough. Like for Disneyland's 70th night that they just had. That was ripped apart by multiple outlets. I think the Diz had something about it. Like, hey, they didn't go far enough. So I think they're just out of step with their audience just a little bit. Yeah. And their after hours parties, at least at Disneyland, have been really, really mediocre, really, really bad. They're double the price a lot of times than Universal events. And it's just they dropped the ball on those. But it's also not a big emphasis for the company either.
No. Because I will tell you, Vash, one of the things I was looking most forward to, and I went with a couple buddies myself, was that Disneyland 70th. I thought, okay, well, they're going to have an after dark event. It's celebrating Disneyland's 70th birthday. It's going to be amazing. I'm telling you, I almost felt like on a search party to find something entertaining about it, because it was way overpriced. Yeah, it had no value to it. And on top of that, I felt like it was just a regular night at Disneyland that I paid way too much for.
Would it have killed them to have Captain EO screening in the Magic Eye Theater? Would that have broken the bank? Could you imagine a little Tahitian Terrace type element at Tropical Hideaway? You can move some tables and chairs out of there and do something like that. Could it have killed them to have a band play on Mark Twain as it goes around? Like, there were things you could have done for low cost that would have showcased that night, that anniversary, and really do it upright. They decided to roll out some mothballed ride vehicles from, what is it? The Bugs Land or whatever, and then call it a day. This is ridiculous. Crazy. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. That's what they decided to do. Go ahead, Jared.
It's the same thing Disney World with the Halloween and Christmas parties. They haven't changed for like a decade. And that wasn't that long ago. It was under $100 to do it, and now the high end of that is like I think it's at $250 or something like that, and it still sells out. So it's like if these things are selling out, I mean, from a business standpoint, it is kind of like difficult to fault them outside of this being a company that is just looking to keep pushing the boundaries on things. It's like, well, if you can just do it and it sells out, then okay. Now we have seen them, like Vash was saying, make changes to Jollywood Nights because that one wasn't going great. We went to the very first one. That was a rough party. That was not a good party by any stretch of the imagination. So they've been forced to make some changes to that one to try and get it up to that same level. But if it's selling out, and probably the same thing at Disneyland, it's like, well, we can throw this party up, have a popcorn bucket over here, a 3 miles long line. Who cares? And I think, and a lot of it probably in Hollywood is they don't have, or in Disneyland, they don't have the competition or Universal is not the same as it is in Orlando. So nobody's pushing them. No, and I think it's just complacency. Like if they're not going to spend the extra money, they're going to sell the income. They figure, well, why spend the extra money if we're having the same amount of income no matter what? And I think that's probably
right. Well, look at Oogie Boogie Bash. I mean, they cut out will the color vampires show, or they used to have a show. They used to have a Will the Color show for Oogie Boogie Bash. They cut that out, and nobody cared, and they just kept increasing prices. Most you'll see them do is they'll cut back on the number of nights, maybe add a few little extra entertainment offerings in order to bump up demand for it, but while keeping costs in check by reducing the number of nights. That's the most you'll ever see. But if they just keep selling out, and I think Remedy in the chat actually said is a scalpers. Even if it is scalpers, they still sold the tickets.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I want to go to a super chat real quick before we jump to the next subject real quick.
Perfect. I was reading that. He posted that a little bit ago. So
yeah. So XVoot85 said, what are your predictions for the 100-ish acres next to Topgolf that Universal recently started work on? City Walk 2.0, hotels, and new park. Jared, this is for you because obviously you know about this.
It's not gonna be a new park. I haven't gotten and I don't know if Vash has heard anything. I haven't got any final word about what it is going to be. I think the chances of it being a hotel are pretty high because they previously had that area sort of mapped out for a hotel. There's a chance with that tunnel they're going to do, you could see a hotel with maybe some sort of transportation hub with that tunnel potentially. But I think that's what I would say. They're going to build more hotels. That's one of the things they're going to do. You're not going to see them build a new park right near Epic Universe at this point. I mean, I think they will. They have space for it, but I think it's a hotel. It could be City Walk 2.0. It's possible. I personally think they would have that closer to, if you look at some of the original concepts where Epic Universe is, there's a space for another park kind of near it. I feel like they would put City Walk 2.0 kind of like what they have in the main City Walk, where it's kind of the bridge between the two parks. I feel like they would probably replicate that, but I would say 70% chance hotel, 30% chance maybe City Walk.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that resort, right, and you look at the what Universal needs, it's not a new park.
No.
They have 11,000 rooms on property right now. Disney has almost 45,000 rooms. So do the math. What do we need to invest in? Probably new resort hotels. And that's the thing. To shepherd more expansion, you're going to need more capacity. You're going to need more ways to monetize that. That's going to be through hotel rooms. So that's what the need is.
If you look at, since Disney, which I did like, they pulled out the admission sales. Like they kind of gave you more details from the earnings.
So interesting.
Universal's not that far behind on just admissions. It actually shows the bigger engine of Disney World, which you got DVC, all these hotel rooms, everything else to do. So if Universal wants to continue, like if they're not that far off from park admissions, then where are they lacking? Like Vash said, it's the hotels. And you build more hotels, then that is going to be something. Now I don't know with their Lowe's setup if they're going to be able to do anything DVC like, but I think they start definitely doing more on hotel side, especially around Epic Universe. Even though right now you can get Helios. We actually got a night at Helios Parkview for my wife and I's birthday for like $220.
Wow,
like that. They have some pretty significant deals going on hotels a little bit on some of them at the Universal hotels. But And if you look at they got that Orange County sales tax that's with the hotel stays. They've set records every single quarter since Epic has been opened, and that's strictly off hotel sales. So they're seeing a continuing growth in people staying in Universal hotels, and they're just going to continue to feed that supply, I think, is their kind of short-term plan.
Yeah, and I think also the battle plan going forward needs to be, we need more filler rides in Epic Universe.
I can tell you that we were there on Thursday, which we can talk about later, but they definitely need some filler attractions. Undoubtedly.
They do.
Absolutely.
They do. I want to go to one more comment before we jump to the super app. We got Mr. Theme Park Philosophy in the house. Always great to see him. He asks, Disney After Hours, the link in the bio lockdown, a private event where vloggers pay $200 to watch other vloggers film and where every moment is a content opportunity.
Fantastic.
I love it.
Fantastic.
I love it.
Link in the bio.
Link in the bio.
I love it.
Oh man, I tell you, dude. It's funny. The Disney live streamer. I think in general has a lot of work to do in the PR department. A lot of people don't like the live streamer stuff, and that doesn't say, I'm not saying that they're all bad, because I have a lot of friends who do a lot of great work. Theme Park Casual, Very Place. There's a lot of good people that do it. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of bad apples that kind of put a sour taste in people's mouth. I mean.
They were, it's interesting. And you have to look at the audience and all of that, but that Park Place, when they started covering the potential streaming changes that might occur at the parks division, I think they got like 45,000 views on that video, and they had well over 1,000 comments. If you looked at each one of them, I would say probably 70%, if not more, were negative comments for the streamers. So the streamers,
same thing,
not PR wise, not doing so hot. And they're an interesting breed of cat for sure. But they, if Disney chooses to monetize them more than they are now, After Hours Party, that might be a thing. I'm one for the streamer pass. That's just me.
Yeah, I can see them do it. I'm the same thing. If I had a couple videos talking about that, and like them and the resellers and the people that camp out at the outlet stores. I mean, probably 90% of people are like, ban them, get them out of here. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, there's not a lot of sympathy. And like, I don't know how it is in Disneyland, but Disney World, like, it's not as bad. But I have been around a few streamers where it's like, it is very annoying. Like, you're impacting the guest on a major level with just talking through stuff, being loud, like just stuff that like, if one person is one thing, but like it's going to attract more people, and so this problem's only going to get worse, I think, as theme parks continue to be more popular and people look at it as a way to make some money. And then what happens then? Well, you got to stand out from the crowd, so then you start doing antics to do more stuff like we've seen in the IRL streamers. And I think that's the danger you run into here if you're Disney, about these people that are already kind of becoming an issue, and it probably will only get worse. And so it's better than nip it in the bud now, especially after that whole, swatting in Disneyland. I mean, that was something like, we talked about it in depth. Like, that's a close call they had, but that could have been a wake up call for them to be like, okay, we need to do something here about this.
Absolutely.
And I kind of found out a little back history about that streamer, Jared. He has history of getting swatted. So he knew full intentions of going into Disneyland with his girlfriend, that was a great possibility because he has history behind it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. See, and I think Disney could use that whole situation, the swatting incident, as a catalyst to really, really crack down on streamers. And I wouldn't be surprised.
We said at the time, this might very well be a catalyst for more changes to come, and that's why we cover them so extensively, both on Jared's Capture the Magic and on Vash Sky Parkcast, because it was a big incident. It was a big deal to have that much police response there, to have disrupted Disneyland operations to the point that they did, for it to have been handled the way it was. All those things. I mean, it made national news. So it's a big deal. I think they're absolutely looking at it. We'll see what actually happens. They haven't implemented anything just yet. But I think they're really looking at that and going, okay, if if we have more incidents like this, if this gets worse, if this gets more high profile, what are we going to do?
Yeah, no,
Well,
100%.
Well, another interesting whole thing that kind of ties into the influencer thing is the Disney adults in general. It's a lot of people don't like Disney adults, right? For better or worse, you know, whatever that is, the Disney adult has a reputation outside of the bubble, the Disney nerd bubble, right?
Sure.
Is part of that because of a lot of this influencer behavior, because a lot of people from the outside looking in, their window into the Disney fandom is through those TikTok Disney people and the streamers and all that. So are they even like sort of influencing the culture to sort of have a distaste for the Disney fan, right? So that's a whole other can of worms, you know, but like, it's kind of interesting how the whole thing is kind of tied together.
No, 100%. I want to ask you guys this, because this was part of the earnings call. You know, Amaro talked about he wants to make a super app to have all the Disney apps all in one. And me and OG have talked about it. Vash, I'm sure you've talked about it. Jared, you've talked about it. We've all talked about it. And I could tell you right now, this would be an absolute catastrophic mistake. Because the reason why I say that is there's been so many times I've been at Disneyland or, you know, even at Walt Disney World when I was out there, the app was not cooperating the way it should. And I think if you try to throw all these apps in the one place, it's going to cause so much issues between Disney Plus subscribers, people that are trying to do virtual queues, people that are trying to do lightning lanes, people that are trying to order food, get merch. I don't think this is a good idea by any means necessary. Vash, I'm going to start with you. What do you think about this? Do you think it's a smart move, or do you think it's a very bad move?
I mean, look, this is hilarious. When I, you know, when you started this out, Theme Park Conductor, talking about the app and your experiences with it, I would have been shocked to hear you say it worked great. It was awesome. It worked exactly as intended. It was fantastic. No issues whatsoever. Spent 16 hours at Disneyland, and it all worked out just fine. Because we know the reality of their IT situation. It is amongst the worst. Not even in, I mean, entertainment. I should say theme park proprietaries. They're one of the worst, but even in entertainment, they're one of the worst, right? It is a terrible experience. So the idea that we want to combine all of this stuff into a super app does not make any sense to me, because these disparate teams exist for a reason. You really do have to have very good communication between the software developers of your app and what the parks actually need, the services that require, how you facilitate certain things. And there are things that, you know, are for particular resorts. Remember, Paris's Lightning Lane service is completely different than domestic Lightning Lane services, for example. You know, the premium Lightning Lane services are different between each parks, as we well know. The ability to link up your tickets, right, at Walt Disney World with your Google Wallet, very different from how Disneyland works, and vice versa. So there are these particular needs that these parks must have in order to facilitate their guests and the experiences that they offer to them. So I don't know if in fact you could even do this. You're going to have some kind of communications team that's going to be, you know, working with all of these disparate parks and get them all working together for something like this. And you're going to have an app robust enough to provide all of these services, perhaps maybe at one time. So what does that look? What does that look like when it comes to server space, server capacities, and so forth? Like, you know, do you have these, you know, servers keel over when, I don't know, Oogie Boogie Bash drops or something like that? I don't know. But you have to really kind of work this out. I don't have the confidence in them that they will. And even when you look at the apps as they are provided to, you know, for guests right now, what is it? Disneyland is like 300 megabytes, right? Walt Disney World, something around the same. Paris is something around the same. I think Disney Plus is only like 60 megabytes. You're going to have to combine all these services together. It's going to be like what, a 2 gig app on phones, in which we have a hardware shortage right now, the likes of which we've never seen in the IT world ever.
Yeah.
I would not be making this move, but this is part of this one Disney philosophy that Josh Amaro has, not just for the experiences division, but for the entire company.
Yeah, no, 100%. Jared, what do you think about it?
I agree with Vash. We talked about this on Vash's live stream last week. I understand why they want to do it. I get it. Like, you can tie in, like, hey, if you're in the app and there's a Disney Plus discount in the park, sign up for Disney Plus, you get more subscribers. I understand why you would want to do it in theory. The execution, that you're completely right. All the parks operate very differently. I'm wondering if somebody is telling them they can use AI to make this way. Because I think one of the things I will say about AI stuff is you hear all these predictions about AI is going to take over X, Y, and Z, and it's going to have impacts. But you got to remember, a lot of these predictions are coming from the AI companies themselves, justifying these massive evaluations. So, of course, you're going to come out and say, yeah, we're going to take over X, Y, and Z sector because that's what they want their value to be up. So, if they're talking with some of these, like, we don't know if it's OpenAI or maybe Claude or whatever, they're on the market in terms of an AI partnership now after they exited out the one with OpenAI. But if they're telling them, oh, we can combine all these together because we have the coding aspect, you don't have to pay as much labor, all these things, that is where this could really go wrong, because the coding from AI is not the best. I mean, it'll probably improve, but I think potentially this is a massive, massive mistake that you would have to detangle after the fact. And I completely agree. I don't know how many times I've used the app where I've been like, that was a flawless experience. I can't wait to interact with Disney's IT even more. It typically does not go that way. And I've been in Disney World when half the park shuts down. Something happens and you can't even access stuff. And when it goes down, you can't buy food. You can't use lightning lanes. Like, it shuts everything down. So what happens if the whole thing goes down?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. It's funny because when I went out to Walt Disney World, one of the things that I had issues with, come to find out, my Magic Band, it killed over. It wasn't working anymore. So they gave me a new Magic Band of my choosing, and even to link that up to the Walt Disney World app so I can link my ticket was an absolute disaster. It took me at least 45 minutes to get that thing to work. And I was in perfect cell service, according to Verizon, in the middle of Epcot, and I still couldn't get it to work. So this is bad.
I'm very curious what they even mean by super app, though, right? Like, is it going to be one app that's like a hub, but like when you click on, let's say, your Disney, like the Disneyland tab, it takes you off app into something else? Or is everything going to be in this app? I don't know how that's going to work.
Let me get the Bloomberg article.
I mean, I feel like, like, I agree, though, that's like a potential that you could have. Some apps do that where you download extra stuff into it, I suppose. And it could be a shell, like why Vash looks that up. Like, it could be a shell that essentially is other apps working within it. It's just wrapped as one app. But yeah, it's like, if those things, like Disneyland and Disney World's needs are so different, if you don't have those specific teams working on it, like, I guess it would just be the troubleshooting aspect of, like, what does that look like? Not if, but when there's an issue. And I think that's the thing I would want to be very curious about.
No,
I'm. Go ahead, please.
No. I was just gonna say it's an absolute nightmare. You know, trying, like you said, Vash, you have each different park that's part of the Disney company with their own separate app, different lighting, different ways to how to order food, if you want to do a virtual queue for merch or virtual queue for experience. It's, oh my God, I'm getting a headache talking about it because it sounds so confusing. So, just spaghetti bowl of a mess. That's what it sounds like to me.
So here's how I very much agree with you, theme park conductor. Trust me, I mean, your head starts swimming with how many different things that you had to service when it comes to these very distinct locations like Disneyland and Walt Disney World. They just simply don't operate the same, and they don't offer the same services And even, I mean, Thomas Muslim knows this very intimately, right? He talked about how magic bands might be retired at Disneyland because, well, 7% of guests use them versus 55% of guests use them at Walt Disney World. We know why that is, because Disneyland may have 3,000 rooms or just under that. Walt Disney World has 45,000 rooms. That's why there's a little bit of a different economy when it comes to those things. Now, I'm looking at the Bloomberg article. It says this: the new app would marry Disney Plus with mobile platforms such as Disneyland Resort and Disney Cruise Line Navigator apps into what's internally being described as a super app, said the people, who asked not to be named as the information is still private. This was also include, by the way, this is not included in the article, but it would also include the ability to book park tickets. So one can presume all of the parks worldwide, buy merchandise, play games, which, by the way, that Disney Play app, look at that. Look how much that is. And then watch movies. So that would also be the Disney Plus side of this infrastructure right here, which, by the way, Josh Amaro did say that Disney Plus, he wants that to be the anchor for their entire digital experiences going forward. So not unlike the meta concept that JPEG had, which is very, very interesting if you look at that history right there. Or the side of the metaverse. Anyway, they want to combine all of this stuff. And yes, Remy D is exactly right. So it wouldn't be just a straight combination of all those different apps. Maybe it would be, maybe it wouldn't. But ideally, you would like a new app that incorporates all these things. And so they have maybe shared libraries and so forth to get the size of the app down and the efficiencies of the app up and the performance of it up. This is all a big if because it's Disney RT, okay? Yeah. Somebody brought up, I think it was Kiki and Luca, actually, who had a super chat talking about Star Wars Celebration selling out, right?
Yeah.
That experience was horrible. Okay? Yeah. This is what happens with all of this stuff. It's like clockwork. You can set your watch to it. It is so consistent. Oh, yeah. It's just terrible. So right now, Disney Plus, I think, works okay. I think the size of it works okay.
Sure.
Why you would want to add layers and layers and layers of additional complexity and many services, which most people are never going to use for everybody, is honestly dumb. That's just me.
Well, the only way to me you could get it to work, you would if you redid the apps from the ground up. I mean, I think throwing these things together, I've got the feeling, and I think I use the example of the Vahle stream. It's like you get. I worked inside a company one time where their little internal system was like from the 80s, and you're like, what in the world? They just didn't take the time to rewrite all this. So to rewrite all this code to make it stable, I mean, I think they would have to go in and just redo everything, and that's a mountain to climb.
Look at what Microsoft is dealing with right now with its AI code and all of the issues that they're having and all the people leaving Windows because, well, you know what? It's filled with AI garbage. And it's also, using dependencies that have been around, maybe in this case, Jared, since the 80s, right? Yep. Don't talk to Claude. Talk to Microsoft. Okay, Disney, let's just, redirect to the people actually using these platforms.
Well, it was kind of interesting today, actually. I called my cell phone carrier, right? And I'm talking to what I thought was like an older lady. And I'm talking to her like a normal person. I'm like, well, I appreciate your time. What was your name? I usually ask what their name is and all that stuff.
Sure.
And she responds with, I'm an AI.
Oh my god!
Whatever, and I'm like, what? I've been talking to an AI this whole time. That's weird.
Oh yeah,
if they even put in, if you use it, I dabble with this stuff to help some business out. They literally have it now where it'll have even pauses and like ums and like taking breaths. Like it sounds like you're talking to a person. Like it's crazy what it can do.
That's what she sounded like. She sounded like a person, like completely like I fell for it.
Yep.
Wow.
It was wild. It was absolutely wild.
I'm telling you, welcome to the new world. As
get those digits, and we have to take this off.
I'm telling you, man, it was like,
oh my gosh. One of the things I want to bring up, there's two things from Bio Reconstruct, and Jared, you can kind of guide us through this. On the screen here, we have the new Encanto area for tropical Americas. If you can walk us through what Bio Reconstruct is showing us, on the progress, because it's supposedly is supposed to open next summer, if that's still the case. but I'm going to play it with no audio, and you can walk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking to hear the main Encanto show building here of the House Madrigal, or what do you want to call it?
Next to the old existing structures, it looks like.
Yeah, they're keeping those to redo. Apparently, Amaro said those need to look like they're not just repainted. And
Repainted,
yeah, the carousel that's across the way. I think that this will open in phases. I don't see all this opening at the same time. They are moving much quicker than they have in the past. I will completely say that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Indiana Jones, like you're seeing right here, that's where that's going to be. I would say Indiana Jones probably be one of the first things to come online. Maybe, like, I think that's the question. Like, are they going to get all this stuff done at the same time? I feel like there's a really good chance that, kind of like, at least for our Galaxy's Edge, when that land opened, you didn't have Rise of the Resistance when it first opened. That came online a few months later. I kind of feel like that may be what they're looking at here, because they're going to want to get this stuff online to really start pushing it for, attendance and things like that. But the carousel is not going to be that complicated.
No.
I don't know. I mean, there's a chance this all opens at the same time. Can they hit next summer? I mean, the pace they're going, look at the Epic construction. A lot of times, like, this stuff looks dumb, and then there's a lot of the infrastructure stuff, the walkways, all these little details. Those are the things that a lot of times will start really holding you back in terms of if it's being ready. I mean, if it opens next year, I'm going to say late next year, in my opinion, when it would open. Yeah, Wizards said fall late. Like, I think it's possible. It could be in sections, but they are moving quicker than I've seen them move before. So I think we may be in some uncharted territory for Disney and their speed of construction.
Well, they do have incentive, though, to open the attractions in phases, and I'll tell you why. Because if you can space this stuff out, you maintain growth. And so what I mean by that, if you blow your whole wad at once, that's a one-time growth surge, right? Yeah. But if you open Indy first and let that kind of like fizzle out after 6 months, and then when that starts to fizzle out, you can open up the Encanto thing, and then you got another bump. You know what I'm saying? Yep. They might do something like that.
Well, and this is, Disney doing this wouldn't be unprecedented. Like you saw, actually back in the 90s, right? There were conversations that Jack Lindquist, the design president at the time, held back the opening of Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin from the rest of Toontown, right? In order to get that kind of year-on-year openings. So 1992 had the opening of Fantasmic, 1993 would have the opening of Toontown, 1994 was open, and 1995 was Indiana Jones. So why not just have Roger Rabbit open in 1994? Now you have a new ride. Now, you have all that growth right there. Similarly, I think OG is exactly correct. Animal Kingdom comes online first, maybe then followed by Disney Hollywood Studios, and then after that, followed by Magic Kingdom. That could be the cadence that we're actually seeing. So there is a lot on them to get this open. And Animal Kingdom, I think, of all of those parks, probably needs it the most when you look at when you look at new attractions and what should be facilitated. And to be honest, it might be pretty straightforward. I mean, okay, Encanto is going to be a brand new attraction built from the ground up, no question about that. But a lot of the groundwork for prepping this area had been done years prior, so pretty straightforward on that level. Dinosaur, you're just retheming, right? In order to get that up and online. And like I said, Jared said that the carousel flat ride, off the shelf in a lot of ways. So yes, they're working at a tremendous pace, and it's good to see that they are doing it. But OG is exactly right. They might be looking at the cadence and going, okay, we want year over year attractions to get people in.
Well, another thing that's kind of interesting about all this stuff too is we're seeing an Indiana Jones ride, right, being constructed basically, or whatever, built, whatever, without Tony Baxter, right? Because ours was built with Tony, and we're also seeing a Pandora in DCA without Joe Rohde, which is kind of interesting, right? I'm kind of curious how these two projects turn out without their main creatives. I mean, these are the grandfathers of these projects,
Very different than when those grandfathers were there.
100%.
I think that's going to happen.
On the cadence of attractions, I mean, something Universal has stated they want a new attraction open every single year for like a decade. They have said that before. I've never heard Disney say that much, but it does actually make a lot of sense if that's something that you look at doing, and every single year you have something coming online. That definitely could be something they point to. I mean, I don't know where I'd put the chances. I think there's a chance it opens all at the same time, but I think there's a pretty decent, at least 50-50 shot. You do see probably Indiana Jones open first. Then I would guess then the rest of like the Tropical America stuff opens maybe next year or something like that. I think that may be the cadence you see there. But that park definitely needs it. It is going to struggle until that stuff is built for sure.
Yeah. Now I'm a vibes guy, so like I can walk and eat and just hang out and be fine. So Animal Kingdom is like beautiful to me. I love it. I can do that thing all day long. But I understand. I'm not like naive to the fact that most people that go to these places want to ride stuff.
Sure.
So I get it. Like I totally get it. Like as a park with like that, you know, for like the normies or the general public. Yeah. Animal Kingdom doesn't have a lot of it.
Especially for kids. There is not a lot of stuff. And I can speak to that with firsthand and for like, you know, experience myself. There's not a lot of stuff currently for kids.
Right. And that's where Encanto and the Carousel come in.
Yep, 100%. And I would say, OG, do you think it fits the vibes to get out during a safari to relieve yourself? Is that a vibe?
Yeah.
That's a vibes thing, bro. Yeah, I mean that's yeah, dude, you're vibing.
Just
You gotta go.
You're enjoying the nature, you know. He probably got a nice little rash right here, you know. I mean, he's really into it.
That was ridiculous.
I was imagining the Jurassic Park scene where you see the ruffling of the shrubs and all of a sudden it disappears in there. So like, oh no.
Clever girl.
God, that's crazy. So Jared, I'm gonna have you take it away again. This is again from Bio Reconstruct, but now we're jumping across to another park, Hollywood Studios, with Monsters Inc. So if you can walk us through what we're looking at here.
Yeah, we got the parking lot coaster being built. It's really weird. They're building that in the middle of the parking lot, then they're going to combine it together. But that is the Doors coaster that is going in right there.
Right. We can actually start to see some footers and some supports for the coaster itself, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Jared.
Yep.
That parking lot, did they build another parking lot to offset the loss of those spots or not yet?
They have not yet. I think this was mostly cast member parking. This is the area where I've never parked this far over. So if you go over there, like if you drive near it, it looks weird because you literally just have this construction going on in the middle of the parking lot. But I do believe it was mostly cast member parking stuff here. But yeah, I mean, you got your footers going up, like all the foundations are there. I think this coaster, if they pull it off and it's executed well, will be a very in-demand ride. Obviously, here you're looking at the former Muppet Courtyard area where Harry Susan or whatever the sushi place from Monsters Inc. is going to go into one of these buildings. And it's just, that they're going to do something with that theater there. But the main attraction is going to be that Doors coaster. I am curious how, like, the rest of that parking lot, I do believe, or at least most of it, I think is staying after this is built. I'm really curious how they're going to partition that off to where it's not like you're just in the middle, like this ride is literally in the middle of a parking lot when you're in here. But I'm sure they're going to have the walls up where you can't see it. But I mean, this progress isn't as quick as, I mean, definitely looking at these, Animal Kingdom is moving much quicker. And I think this one's probably looking, I don't know if they've actually said, I think 2020, I've heard 2027, probably 2028, because they're going to stagger these things undoubtedly. Whenever
they're going to stagger. I think they're going to stagger cars and villains myself, but go ahead. No.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the reason why I asked about that parking lot is because out here in California, I'm curious to see Disney's willingness to sort of cut into these parking lots without replacing them. Because we still haven't gotten our Eastern Gateway. That's why I'm asking. Because I'm wondering if they're willing to cut into Simba lot or something like that without necessarily a backup to replace it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's true. I think if you look at Disneyland Forward plans for those spots, they include structures there. The long-term trajectory for Disney Hollywood Studios has always been to cut into these lots. They've never been a permanent fixture, like we can't move these. One would assume that they would make up for that either with off-site lots or structures, parking structures, in order to make up for that loss and to maybe add more capacity, right? Because as your park grows, you need to also have accompanying infrastructure to support that growth. This is why, for example, why you see like a new ferry coming online at Magic Kingdom. Part of that is to facilitate the expansions, right? Why we might see modifications to the Starway at Universal Studios Hollywood if the lower lot were to expand out in greater ways than it is currently right now. So for this, I mean, there were back in the 1990s, they wanted their own version of Indiana Jones Adventure at this particular park, and that would have cut into the parking lot and so forth. So it's always been part of the trajectory for these things, but you have to offset that somehow. I think here, Jared, exactly right. This is a cast member lot, so it's not a huge priority for them to make up for that. Maybe they could work within the diminished space right now, but if they cut into it much further, obviously then you'll have to make up for that in some other way.
Well, see, it's interesting you say that, Bash, because OG makes a great point about the Eastern Gateway project, because when you look at aerial photos of the cast member parking in that area where this mega structure is supposed to be, right. I think what they're gonna try to do is maybe build on one side of the lot at each time, and then kind of go back and forth. But I don't think they're going to close the entire lot, because do they really have the space to relocate that cast member parking unless they close the Toy Story parking lot and make that the cast member parking lot and bus cast members in?
Yeah. I mean, they'll probably do that. That's why the Toy Story lot's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Any permits that you actually see for it is probably the facilitation of more parking lot space in order to offset whatever parking that they won't have access to while that structure is actually going up. And I don't believe the Toy Story lot is fully 100% saturated yet, so we'll see. But this is also why Disney had a short-term agreement for those buses that they currently use. Remember the whole art thing, and it was going away, and it was like they had to provide some type of transportation there, because long-term Toy Story lot's not with us, but short-term they really need it because it's part of their growth strategy.
Yeah, because I think, because me and OG talked about this as well, I think what they're going to use the Toy Story lot for is once the Eastern Gateway is done, I honestly don't think they're going to touch the Toy Story parking lot until the 2030s. The reason I bring that up is because they're going to need a staging area, and what better yet is to use the Toy Story parking lot for the staging of Avatar materials, using the Toy Story parking lot for staging for possibly the Simba parking lot. That's what I think the Toy Story lot's going to be used for. It's going to be used for cast members first, so they can build the Eastern Gateway, and then it's going to be used as a staging area, I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you want Jill Astorino and some other long-term veterans overseeing these things, because the facilitation of all these things... Look, you're talking Disneyland Resort is the largest chessboard imaginable with way too many pieces on it. If you move one thing, you got to move another. You got to move another. You have to coordinate these things out in a very, very coordinated manner, because space is at so much of a premium. So it wouldn't surprise me that they do that. Conductor, I think you're on the right track there. I think. These they can get structures up within 18 months, I believe, is like the minimum timeline for these sort of things. So just add that on, and then that's your cadence as to how long these things actually might be facilitated. Avatar is longer term than Coco, which is longer term than Avengers Campus. So that's kind of, I think, the trajectory we're on currently.
Vash, I want to ask you a quick question, because I was watching with Conductor and I did a reaction video to an interesting new creator, Disney Path. Yes. Great content creator.
Yep.
But he posed an interesting theory about the Coco attraction. And I'm kind of curious what your opinion on it is. And it kind of ties into what we're talking about because Symbolot is involved in his theory. But you and I talked about it too, actually, in a video. That Coco area doesn't look very big, right? The land,
not very big at all. No,
right? The land they cleared. And Amaro got on that stage at D23. Is like, yeah, this is going to be like a Pirates of the Caribbean kind of level quality thing, and the whole 9 yards. Right? And that's not a big area, you know. So Disney Path is saying that land clearing is to prep for the bridge to go over, and the show building for Coco will actually be in the Symbolot. Do you think there's any possibility of that, in your opinion? Or
I've not seen permits for that, and all of the clearing suggests to me that the bulk of the experience will be on the DCA side of what is that? Is that what's the street there? Is that
Disneyland Drive?
Is it Disneyland Drive? Okay, yeah. I always get that stuff confused. I think the bulk of the show building is going to be on that side. Now it could bleed over. It could reasonably bleed over into those other areas.
Sure,
but I don't know if the bulk of the experience is going to be on that end, because that's a new set of permitting processes that you have to go through. That's a new, that's brand new infrastructure that you have to get over there, right? We talked about this with the Avatar project, OG, with the electrical lines that you have to actually put down, with the plumbing lines that you have to put down, and all of that. It's possible. I'm not seeing evidence of that currently, but it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's wild because Avatar is going to open after there's been Avatar 8. And then that's when Avatar Land out there seems like it's going to open.
If.
Yeah, I would. If I think it's the main word. It's not good. Like, okay, so this is the. That's a bad picture. Hold on, let me see if I can find another one. Well, it's just interesting to me, Vash, that, and obviously I can't find a picture. That's all right. It's interesting because when you look at the aerial photo, it shows that it shows the Mexican village and whatnot that you walk into before you're supposed to enter Coco, but then on the backside it shows, it shows the bridge going across Disneyland Drive. And then on the other side of Disneyland Drive, you have a building that kind of looks like it would be like a Pirates of the Caribbean, show building. That's why that got brought up.
Yeah. Well, Ben's comment's interesting. I guess Fresh Baked did a video. He said, I think today, that the lot size that they've cleared for Coco is currently 1.4 acres, where Pirates show building is just over 1 acre. That's interesting. I mean, hey, looks can be deceiving. I mean, it doesn't look that big, and it's kind of a weird shape, but I mean, it's possible, I guess.
It's possible, but there's a couple of problems with that. For one, Disney doesn't make stuff like they did back in the 1960s. You really got to put yourself in a comparable mental framework when it comes to space and relation. That's why I don't quite use. I try not to use comparisons between old construction and new, because it's just they're built so differently now. Sure. A lot of the stuff is built a lot more spread out than it was before. And when it comes to a boat ride and how to utilize that space, it's far more challenging than the kind of open framework that they had to install Pirates of the Caribbean back in '67. Yeah,
because if you look in this gap right here, that's where that gate is. And there's not much room to put a show building. And then obviously, like we were talking about, you have that bridge. And then here's that massive e-ticket attraction building. But what I find interesting is these three buildings are staying. They're not moving. No. So there's not a lot of room, even with 1.4 acres, to build a building like that unless they build up high and they do multi-story, which I don't know if that's such a great thing, because if you're by the Little Mermaid and you're looking towards the Incredicoaster and all that, and you see that big eyesore of a damn show building, is that really what you want?
Yeah, I mean, this is it really comes down to the challenge of the space. And Benzagudo, I believe he referenced Mermaid, I believe, in his video as well. It's it's possible that he did. The problem is that Mermaid, though, well, that's an Omnimover, and you can see just how tight that ride is. I think theme park conductor, I think I agree with you. You might, I would first, I mean, very likely if you were looking for a Pirates of the Caribbean quality attraction, which I'm not quite sure we're going to get that delivered, but okay, let's work within that framework. You would have to go double decker. And the only ride that I can even think of that's comparable, it is really Splash Mountain, is the only water ride I can ever, I know in my memory that has a double decker element to it where it's not just all spread out. But that's a log flume. It's a little bit different than what they actually showcased in the art, which was more of a, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean meets Rio del Tiempo type experience. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, see, if they do build a multi-story building, I told this to OG Vash, one of the things I would like to see if they do want to do that is that they incorporate a restaurant like they do in the Mexico pavilion at Epcot with the 3 Caballeros, where you have the restaurant kind of inside the attraction, kind of like what we see with the Blue Bayou and Pirates, if you do it that way. Now, if you want to do it that way, hey, be my guest. I still think it's going to be an eyesore. I think one of the things that a lot of people want that the other half is not really even looking at is, I kind of feel with Coco, we should have a bigger footprint of like tying into that Hispanic community that surrounds Disneyland, that what Southern California is known for. So personally for me, I would like that whole area to kind of just be that Coco Village, and then you walk across the Marigold Bridge, which is going across Disneyland Drive, and on the other side, there's the e-ticket attraction. That's what I would like to see, and that's taking only a portion of that parking lot, which they can rearrange things to still have it as a parking lot and just have one section closed for that attraction. If that
go ahead. I was just say real quick, I think my gut is telling me we're going to get something in scope about the same as the Grand Fiesta Tour at Epcot, the Mexican Pavilion, in terms of scope. But I think the inside stuff, we're going to get like some fancy animatronics. Disney's on that kick right now. So there will be big, cool, fancy animatronics. But in terms of like the layout and how big this attraction is, probably similar to that Grand Fiesta Tour. You know, it's a smaller.
I just can't see them going far bigger than that. Now, I will say, look, listen, I mean, what does Disney California Adventure need? It needs kid-friendly attractions. So, you know, obviously Coco definitely fits that bill. It needs boat rides. Definitely fits that bill as well. I think we talked about it, OG, how they could remove Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta and all this stuff. The Pizza Mamo building, if you know your DCA history, I think it's very likely. Look, this is a very interesting project because Disney has been trying to cater to the Hispanic community, specifically out in Southern California, which is huge, for a while now. This is really kind of their attraction when you kind of look at it with the, you know, your eyes out of focus. That's what this is. They got to get this right. They know they need a presence. Coco is a huge property for them. Remember, they're doing Coco too. So a lot of these things are you know, don't screw this up.
Exactly.
It's this area that has me concerned. I think Coco could be the greatest of all these attractions. Honestly, it really could be. But this area limits so much what they can do.
If they can pull this off between the Coco stuff, the Pandora stuff. I mean, the Avengers is kind of like that was a blank slate, pretty much. That was a parking lot. But I'm telling you, if they can pull this Coco thing off and this Pandora thing off, that it's going to be incredible. I mean, the amount of ingenuity you have to really, and they've done it before, to be fair. Disney has done it before with our Indiana Jones ride and the stretching room with Haunted Mansion, all that stuff. But if they can tap into some of that creativity and give us something like that, I'll be happy. But we'll see how it shakes out.
If they can pull off Coco, it could be a gorgeous thing, because visually that movie has some great moments in it.
Definitely.
You know, I think if they could do it, if they can pull that off, it could be a really cool attraction. But
There's a reason why they wanted desperately to redo Rio del Tiempo to Coco. Okay, they know the power of that brand. They know the power of that franchise. They know it translates extremely well. They know like everything's like it's gonna be hard to screw this up. But when you say this area, and park operations are very clear, we're not losing anything. Okay, you're gonna put your ride in here, you can, but we're not taking anything out for it.
No.
That to me spells okay. You know this. Whatever version that we have in our heads of what this could be, we might not be getting because of the reality of the situation on the ground.
No, 100%. So I want to jump across now to Lost Continent, and again, I'm going to refer back to Jared, and this is from Bio Reconstruct. Jared, walk us through what we're looking at here, because we just got news not too long ago. Lost Continent, behind construction walls, Poseidon's Fury, and Sinbad getting demolished. Mythos is closing in 2027, which a lot of people are not happy about that, including myself.
No, God,
please. Sorry, go on.
No, that was
very
perfect.
much so.
I love that. Dre, I'm telling you right now, man, going in the Mythos, dining in Mythos, eating the food was like top notch. I literally felt like good. I was at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. It had that quality to me. It did.
It is an amazing restaurant. It really is. It's one of, I would say, top 3 in-park restaurants I've ever had. It might be even number 1.
Honestly, it is kind of shocking to me that they would even touch their signature dining restaurant for this park, really.
Yeah.
And Mythos, I mean, has been extremely successful. It you know, look, we make fun about the banner all the time, but it really was something that was looked on happily by fans, one that was received well by the general public, all of those things. And so to upend the the ecology of this theme park by sticking their signature restaurant in Thunder Falls, which was the other announcement that they made with the Mythos announcement, is kind of shocking to me because Thunder Falls is not nearly in as great of a location as Mythos was, and we can presume that they're going to keep this a dining experience, but it might not be the signature dining experience that we know, and so it's very, very interesting to me what they're doing here.
I feel like Universal is like, okay, people love the food at Mythos, which is true. They do love the food at Mythos. It's amazing, right? And they're like, we can move the food, we can move the menu. But I think they're underestimating how much people love the ambiance and the vibe to them, right?
Yeah. Though I think there's a chance. So I was told, like, basically you're right, OG. Like the food and everything's just going to shift over to this Thunder Falls Terrace. But I think there's a chance if you look at what they did, I believe in Hong Kong, this might become video. Okay, might become Hammond's, which is the John Hammond video. Yeah, I think that may be what they're gonna do. And I was told this was gonna happen to Mythos a couple months ago, and I was very upset by it when I heard it. But I think the reason they're doing it, if I were to guess, because when I was told months ago, if anybody knows, this is more than likely to become a Pokemon land, what we know now, unless Universal changes their mind for like the 15th time that they may do. But like, if you, this like that, that's what I think this may become, is like Mythos under the Hammond's name here in that area.
Right. Okay.
I think what they might be doing, because the question I had when they said this gonna be Pokemon, I was like, Lost Continent is not very big. Like, it got eaten into by the Wizarding Worlds. I was told they're going to go further back, and we can see in some of the construction pictures that they're probably going to go further back. But also, if you take out Mythos, you shift that walking path to the left, it gives you more real estate to the right side. And I think that's probably what they're going to do. And I love Mythos, but like, it probably does not fit a Pokemon theme, and that building alone is my guess as the calculation there. It's a risk because it's a great restaurant, and that banner for a long time I saw it and I was like, that banner's dumb. And then you go in there and you're like, that banner is underselling this place because it's amazing. But I mean, I guess if the food quality is the same, like, you know, that does bring in more traffic into Jurassic Park. It gives it kind of a new thing in there in a land that I think, you know, you've had Velocicoaster added the last few years. You know, I guess that is the risk they're going to take with this, but I think it's probably a way to free up more room and also the construction. I'm curious how this land's going to look while it's all under construction, and if all those food areas, I do believe those are going to go as well. That gives you more room than what they currently have for attractions. I think this land will look a lot different than what it currently looks like with Lost Continent there.
It's a little cattywampus when you're in there. Like, you know, you got this bridge going out this way, and you got this alternative path going this way into the Wizarding World and stuff like that. It's a little bit like this is not ideal. So it would make sense that they would alter it for those reasons. But man, that promenade that Mythos sits on right now, that is prime real estate. Looks over the lagoon.
It's
like
gorgeous.
Upsetting that, man, I just don't know if that's really the long-term play that they should be making. Now, this Universal Studios Beijing, by the way, is where this footage is coming from right there, which makes a lot of sense. I think that's good. It's just, it's nestled, though, in a corner of the park that not a lot of people visit.
Yeah.
I just don't know how much traffic they're going to actually get nestled in between the River Adventure and Kong Skull Island. I'm just not sure about that. When I went in there, the place was empty. So obviously it could be better utilized, but is it going to make up for Mythos? I'm just not sure. I think OG is right. The atmosphere, the ambiance, the kind of vibe there.
All the aesthetics are
Mythos. Yeah, Mythos had a lot going for it that this place does not. So we'll have to see on that. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Jared. Or
I was just gonna ask you this, Vash. I know the architecture is beautiful in there because like I said, I dined in there. I didn't want to leave. It was
Mythos.
Yeah, Mythos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you: is there, if they bring Hammonds to the Tangerfall Terrace, okay? If they bring it over there and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do you think it's even remotely possible that they might move Mythos in the City Walk? Do you think that's even a slim possibility?
I mean, maybe, but that now you're in a whole different domain, whole different purpose, whole different ecology. You know, it's like park is much different than out of park, right? So, perhaps, I mean, it wouldn't be on the quality level that they actually achieved with Mythos in the 1990s. There's no possible way that happens. But maybe you move portions of the menu. Maybe you call a restaurant Mythos or something, and you might evoke those same vibes. But that's as far as they're going. I think. Look, I think Theme Park Insider is completely right. That being Robert Niles there. End of an era. This was the last Land Islands of Adventure that really evoked something that was original and unique. They're definitely stepping away from that because, well, the thing that got people in the door was something IP heavy. That was the Wizarding World, right? And they're leaning into that in every single aspect. And there is no room for Mythos under that mindset, that philosophy, right? And so I think it's Pokemon full bore.
Yeah,
I think they are. Look, whatever loss there might be incurred with Mythos, they are looking at the numbers. They're saying, look, anything we put in here with Pokemon is going to be gangbusters business. Yeah. Whatever has to move for it is whatever has to move for it. We're going forward.
I think that's exactly what they're thinking is, because I think Pokemon, we've talked about before how big Pokemon is. I mean, even if you're losing some of Mythos, which again, I hate to see it go, but I get it. If you're sitting there thinking we're bringing Pokemon here, we need to utilize this land a lot more. You know, I wouldn't be shocked, by the way. I'm not necessarily, I don't know. I agree with Vash. I don't think you'd see this going to City Walk, but perhaps you do see a restaurant go into Pokemon land that then, they could transfer this stuff back, I suppose, if it doesn't work out here. But I guess that would be a question. But I hate to see that building alone, that the architecture of that building inside of it, like, it's like you're in a cave. It's just, it's so unique.
Yeah, and you're never getting that again. Go ahead.
Let me of that detail you're not going to get again.
No. Yeah, let me ask you guys a question, because I'm admittedly not a big Pokemon guy.
Okay.
When I think of Pokemon, I think of the characters, right? Like Pikachu and all the little Pokemons, right? But what kind of environment would you even have in this land? Is it just like a tropical island or something? Like, where do they? What does that world look like even?
I don't really know. I don't know Pokemon that well. I mean,
it doesn't matter, OG. It's Pokemon. The brand.
You just gotta catch them all.
I'm telling you.
Gotta get all the.
That's what you got. You gotta catch them all. No, the aesthetic I think is really, really interesting. It's, to me, it's a little sad to lose the Lost Continent aesthetic because it was so unique and it was so like original. And man, walking through that was like, man, what would this place would have looked like in its heyday? Like, what? I wish I could have seen that. Never
and I
did.
love mythology, and I agree.
Yeah.
I hate losing that because it's such a cool thing, like a different vibe. But I mean, this has been a walkthrough land for what 3 years at least now since they closed down Poseidon's Fury, which I will say
Right.
Poseidon's Fury, I really did enjoy that attraction. It was different, but I did enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's just hard to argue against Pokemon. And
yeah, I mean,
what it's gonna do.
I think it might be to your point, OG. It might be an extension of the kind of theming that you have over there at Jurassic World or Land or whatever you want to call it, Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah.
Over there at the other side of Islands of Adventure, which would probably work just as a concept that bleeds over from one place to another. You might be a stark contrast from Wizarding World, but who cares?
100%. No, I was just I agree with you. I just don't know how Pokemon's gonna work. I know it has a huge fan base, and I know Poseidon's Fury and Sinbad's is, you know, they haven't been operational in a long time. But look at this. You're telling me you're gonna throw some type of Pokemon IP in this? That scares me. I'm sorry.
Well,
It scares me.
Look, we okay. In the context of bringing one of the biggest brands in the world to this park, okay,
Sure.
Mythos is gonna be a casualty that they make. like it's just you know, it's just so big. If they pull it off right, I mean, whatever money that they ever grossed when it came to the inclusion of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, it could make that look like small potatoes. I mean, that's really
True.
the what is on the table here. And so look at how much Wizarding World dismissed with its inclusion in Talons of Adventure.
Yeah.
I think everybody looks at that and they go, that's a worthwhile trade. Here, I mean, it's like everything has to go. Go ahead, Jared.
Well, I was going to say, it's also not hard to get a reservation here. Like, it's not like this place is like a hard to get table.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
So I think even though the food's amazing and I love the place, but like, it's not like they're, you know, I don't know how much money it's bringing in, but it's not, you know, like the impossible meal to get in the park. And that's what now Universal is also not really a food park at this point. Kind of like, you know, Disney World is for a lot of people. And
Right.
so I agree with Vash. Like you're going to trade this off for Pokemon, put it somewhere else, and they may regret it later. But I think for the potential of Pokemon, it does make some sense.
Look at currently, OG. If you want to get into Toadstool at Universal Studios Hollywood right now,
Oh, it's a nightmare.
I mean, there's a joke in there that I'm not going to actually say on your channel, theme park Conductor, but look, you would have to do a lot of favors for a lot of people in order to get in there. It's unbelievably difficult to get into Toadstool Cafe right now. Toadstool Cafe, their food is not absolutely amazeballs, but
No.
you theme it correctly. You have it tied into the IP and you do it with quality, which Toadstool, I think, hits all those metrics. People are I mean, you're going to have reservations to get in there because it's just that mix of elements, if you get that right, does bonkers business. Okay.
Well, we live in the Instagram generation where all that stuff that you order from that restaurant is Instagrammable. You see all the girls with their, like, you know, they're Instagramming their like little cupcake from the thing and on the whole, like it's all like this Instagrammable stuff. So it's like, it's a gold mine, dude. It's absolute gold mine.
It's a gold mine. So it's like, okay, well, Mythos, yeah, we love it. We absolutely adore it. I do think if you're going to have a signature restaurant, you should, you know, you can maintain it in that space and build out elsewhere. But at the same time, I mean, Jared, they're looking at the calculus. They're looking at how much money this is going to bring in. They're looking at how profitable this exercise is going to ultimately be. If they have the right mix of elements and they execute, you know, 100%, I mean, it's you're not going to be able to walk in the door.
Yeah.
No.
And
Pikachu
so
burgers may not be as good as Mythos, but it's going to be Pikachu burgers, and people are going to go for it.
Gold mine for sure. It's going to be. Are they? So Conductor, OG, Jared, do we know if they're getting rid of everything within Lost Continent, or are they retheming elements? Is this going to be kind of like an Animal Kingdom situation in which they kind of reuse buildings in some places and new construction elsewhere? Go ahead.
I've had that question. I get the impression it's all going.
Yeah,
that's the impression I get. And I think when you look at all those little quick service areas before you walk over into Hogsmeade, that's what I'm saying. Like, yes, and like I think if you look at this as a blank slate and how far back I think they're going to go, you know, I don't know if you're talking. I think you're probably talking at least 2 attractions in here, probably some sort of restaurant. I mean, you got a lot of real estate that does open up with that, but I think it's all going. I think Lost Continent is I love that area when it was in its heyday, but it's going to be one of those things. It's going to be like Horizons where you're like, remember Lost Continent? How
well, it's atrophied so much. So
yeah. Well, can you imagine the lines for the Pikachu meet and greet? I mean, that thing is going to be insanity.
Yeah,
especially if they actually deliver a Pikachu, and proper size and all of that. Like, I mean, big Charizards in some places. Like, it's gonna be insane. So, blank slate. Here we go, baby.
Like they did with the Hiccup and Toothless meet and greet that they have in Epic, that thing is amazing. And if they use an animatronic or something for it, like you could have Pikachu and Ash. I know Ash is the main kid, I think, or with these other characters.
Ash Ketchum.
You'll have lines, 90-minute waits. I mean, Hiccup and Toothless is like a usually at least an hour-long line for that meet and greet, like all day long.
We need the Ash meet and greet. We need the Misty meet and greet. We get them all in there. Like it's gonna be bonkers. So look, I love Lost Continent. I really do. I think the concept and the idea and the heyday and this park opening in 1999, just awesome stuff.
Yeah.
But it is an end of an era, and we got to move on. Specifically, maybe over to Epic Universe with the open hub concept, right?
Absolutely. I want to ask one question for you guys about Mythos, because the Florentine made a comment. With Zelda going into Epic, do you think it's even a slim possibility they might incorporate Mythos into that land?
That would make more sense than City Walk, I think.
Yeah, a lot more sense. Yeah, and you could have a nod or an homage, maybe even some of the same menu pieces, but still have it be very, very Zelda. I can kind of see that. I can kind of see them doing that.
I think the nod, like a head nod to it. I mean, personally, whatever they're doing in Mythos, do this everywhere in Universal. I mean, whatever they're doing in there, they've got it nailed down. Like, just take this concept and spread it out and teach them your ways of mythosing restaurants. But probably like a head nod, like, oh, like look at that. Maybe there's a sculpture that kind of reminds you of Mythos. That would be my guess.
Okay, no, 100%. Jared, I'm going to let you take it away, but I want to ask you, because you've been covering this lately, is the open hub concept for Celestial Park, and we're seeing these new facial recognition scanners at the entrances of some of the portals. Can you let everybody know what the status of that is and what Universal's trying to go in the direction for Epic Universe?
Well, that is a little bit up for speculation. We do know they have been testing at Dark Universe and I believe Ministry of Magic periodically facial recognition to get into the portals. They haven't said specifically. There's it's a test, but we did have today. Someone did. I think it was in the Universal AP group. I can share my screen here if you want me to.
Yeah,
share
please.
This.
That'd be great.
It's making me do. Okay, here we go. This is from the Laughing Place, and it says this all came from. There was an Instagram post that was from Premier Beauty Shows. So with the facial recognition scanners, people have been speculating. It's been a rumor before Epic opened that they could have this open Celestial Park concept, kind of like a City Walk 2.0 sort of thing. Universal hasn't said anything about it, but it's always been floating out there. And then this post popped up today. It says from Premier Beauty Shows. And it says it's a sponsored post. And I'm going to read here. It says, enjoy an evening of complimentary admission to the Celestial Park area of Universal's Epic Universe, where you'll have access to a variety of dining, shopping, and live entertainment. complimentary self-parking available after 5 p.m. You just have to show your Premier Orlando Conference badge. So this is specifically for this conference in particular.
Correct.
But it fits the roadmap of what has been speculated with an open social park concept here. And so I think all signs point to them doing this. When you look at, like we were just there on Thursday, it is not difficult to get these reservations, especially in the evening time, like Atlantic or any of these. And the food's really solid, but like they can't get more people in this park that are going to get in lines, because the lines and the wait times are an issue here.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah,
it's insane. Like all day, we literally, I mean, you're dodging wait times all day long. So I think
triple digits in a lot of cases.
Yeah. And so maybe they're doing this as a test run. Maybe they do this only for conferences, but I think on some level you do see somewhat of an open social park concept I would say probably relatively soon, given you're on the 1 year mark of Epic coming up in a couple of weeks. They're going to want to show more revenue because they just came off all those monster quarters, and you're not going to see these more than likely 20% growth in revenue quarters now, but they don't want to show like stagnant, it will be stagnant.
Right.
They don't down. I think that stuff like this and like after hours events at Epic Universe, which I think Jay told us the other night, that's something that they're definitely looking at doing.
Yep.
I think they're going to do stuff like this to try and just get more revenue without impacting the wait times in the park.
That's
well,
it.
and here's my only concern though, like with it, is that because you have people paying to get into this park, right? You have that admission ticket, but now the people that paid to go into Epic are now fighting for reservations for people who didn't pay.
Yep.
And that's a little bit of a problem, you know what I'm saying?
You gotta respect your paying audience, undoubtedly. Go ahead, Vash. Yeah, but you gotta definitely respect the people that paid $200 to get into that park that day.
And this is why it's a very regulated test. I mean, this is really a test, I believe. I think Jared got it smack on. This is a test for larger things, and you prioritize the guests that actually paid there up until a certain, portion of the day, and then you switch it up just a little bit. And Jared is exactly right. They're wanting to post quarter-over-quarter growth, year-over-year growth, right? The only way you can really do that for a park that's so capacity limited, that as this is to open up portions of the park that can accept more guests. Like Jared said, I think these restaurants have availability. They know that these are the levers that Universal is pulling in order to post those gains. And so they're starting out with a small scale test first. They even said, like, you got to show your badge, all of that, get you in and go. The roadmap, I think, is clear. They eventually want this to be an inverted City Walk 2.0, but we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. No, 100%. And Wizard actually brings up an interesting comment. He says restaurants are empty after 6. They need the open hub idea. And one of the things I kind of like about it, but I don't like about it, is exactly what you're just bringing up, Vash, with people that pay the money to go in here, right, compared to someone just walking in. It's almost like Epic Universe is kind of going back in time, because my dad used to tell me with Knott's Berry Farm, they had this concept where you can just walk in the Knott's Berry Farm. But if you wanted to do any of the attractions or entertainment things,
they were separate charged.
Exactly. And that's what Epic Universe is going into. Right. And the other, go ahead.
Well, that's how Knott's Berry Farm started. Knott's Berry Farm, the park, really, and all their attractions were organically added to the chicken restaurant, because the lines for the chicken restaurant were so insane. Walter Knott was like, hey, man, let's go ahead and give them something to do. Let's go ahead and provide them entertainment while they wait. And that's how that started. And even at that time, every single location that you wanted to go to was separate admission and actually operated by other people, which was very, very interesting. It wasn't all Walter Knott at that point. I believe the gentleman who built the what is it? The Knott's Mine Train. Yeah, was very. He revealed a lot of these details and stuff, and how that Knott's Berry Farm used to work. Very fascinating stuff. But look, this is kind of going back in time because, well, the concept for Epic Universe and the concept for this kind of inverted City Walk 2.0 actually dates back to the 90s and early 2000s. It's just that they didn't really have a park that could facilitate that. And this park is built to do this. This park is built to feed customers, twice an evening, 3 times an evening. If you have like a corporate event or a land buyout or an after hours party where you can just segment lands or portals and so forth, this park is built to do that.
Well, Val, hi, everyone at home, you can look into the OG55 archives from like 3 or 4 years ago. You and I were doing videos on that
Absolutely,
concept, right?
Yep.
Back in the day.
Yep, because this park was built to do it. This park is going to do this. And
it's also right near the Orlando or the Orange County Convention Center, which I don't know if it's number 1 or number 2. It's one of the biggest ones in the world, and so that is one thing they wanted is like the corporate income. That's why they're building that social park expansion for probably corporate stuff there as well. So that is a part of this park. I completely agree with you guys. Like, you got to give somehow a preference to the paying guest, whether that is that they get priority for reservations or whatever that is. That's the thing I was thinking about. Like, if I pay $200 to go here and I'm like, I want to go to Pizza Moon, and it's, the line is out the door, all of a sudden your options are limited when you paid to be there. And I think that's the struggle with this. I get it from a business standpoint. You got the availability, you want to make more money, but and I do think Universal is pretty good at balancing the guest experience in that way. They're pretty receptive to the feedback. So I think starting out with a small test here, and maybe this just sticks to corporate events for a period of time as they test this. Maybe this becomes an AP thing where APs, if they're not going to do an Epic Universe AP, I don't imagine. We talk about that, Vash and OG, about how I don't think those surveys went very well about a park reservation system. But if you say, hey, if you're a Universal AP, Celestial Park after 6, you can go in here and hang out. There are ways you can do this to where you just don't have like the hordes of Orlando coming in at 6 o'clock to go in here, but you still got to figure out a way to like make this work for your paying guest and that they're happy and will have good, a good feedback about it.
Well said.
And Wizard brought it up here. The paying guest is leaving early. One of the reasons is because this park needs a nighttime entertainment package. That's what gets people to stay longer, which they're investing in right now. But that's what this needs as well. So that'll change too. And that's the thing too. Like, how much demand do we expect when that nighttime entertainment package is activated? Right, like that changes the ecology once again. Go ahead, OG.
Well, and Florentine brings up a great point. And he's saying this will kill Epcot because literally why anyone has to pay over $100 if all you want to do is shop and eat.
That's a good point.
I mean, honestly, I can kind of see his point here with this, where this could cut into Epcot and all that whole season,
Well, and I can see Epcot potentially picking this up. Here's the thing. When was the first annual pass Disney ever had? The very first one.
Was it Epcot After 4?
Well, yeah, sort of. No, you're right. It was 1982 with the opening of Epcot because everybody was looking around going, we got a lot of restaurants here. We got to fill this place up. What are we going to do? So they looked to locals to do that, right? And they started the annual pass holder program in order to facilitate that. But if Epic changes that dynamic and says, hey, look, listen, we don't care if you pay it or not. You can come in after 5 and come on in and enjoy all the activities and stay around for the fireworks show. And hey, if you want that dining package at Atlantic or whatever in order to get a front row seat, be our guest. Go ahead and do that. That's what's playing out right here. And there could be potentially a re-envision of Epcot that says, hey, let's just open the back of this park up to everybody. Get those restaurants full, get people staying there for those fireworks packages, and go forward with there. It is possible that Epic shakes things up, and that will be a thing for everybody, I would think.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
That's a good point about the fireworks packages, because those restaurants will start selling those like crazy. So if you're looking at bumping up your revenue, that's an easy way to do it, along with other people coming in.
Yes.
I mean, it makes sense, and I think they'll find a need, some sort of area to do that. But like, if they do cut into Epcot, that would be very interesting. I didn't actually think about that aspect of it.
Right.
But in like one thing I think Celestial Park is perfect for is some sort of food festival. I've said this from the moment I walked in there. I was like, oh, dude, you could set up booths in here. You could really see them start because Universal's not, they're not at that point. Like there are people that go to Disney that just go to eat and do the food and do all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They don't really have that at Universal too much, but if you start really going into the foodie crowd here, they have those restaurants in Epic Universe, I will say, the ones that I've had are great. And so if you have the good food, you start turning this into a foodie thing. It also helps Universal's image in that end. Maybe eat into Epcot, but at the very least, I think their main priority is going to be they want to show more revenues. They can't just jam more people into this park as a thing. And one thing they could also do, you come in after 5 and say, hey, while we're here, I want to go to Dark Universe, sell some discounted tickets, get a couple more people coming in. Like,
right.
It could be a way to really feed more traffic into the park itself and also just make money on the food and drinks and stuff like that.
Let me ask you this, Jared. If they do go forward with the open concept idea for Celestial Park and they have people coming in for the shopping and the dining, one of the things that we're still missing from when Epic Universe opened was those 2 restaurants off to the right-hand side of the park. That was supposed to be an Italian restaurant and a Mexican restaurant. What's the progress of that? Has that moved the needle at all, or is it still stagnant?
They're supposed to open sometime this year. So I think probably by the summer or fall. They are supposed to be slated open this year. So they're going to have and this probably feeds into the whole thing, they're going to have even more restaurants, and they already have restaurants that are not full toward the end of the evening.
Sure.
That may be why they could be ready now. They may just be holding on to them just because they don't have the foot traffic currently to support that many restaurants without an open concept. And that really could be the thing there. But I think if you look at it too, like you got the fireworks show coming up. If you implement this all at the same time, you're going to have massive crowds coming in to check out the fireworks show, people eating food, getting merchandise. Like, it is a way that they're going to be able to bump up their, definitely make more money from this park, especially in the short term before these expansions are done. That is kind of the reality they're looking at. So maybe you take a little bit of a hit on the paying guest enjoyment. Maybe you try and figure that one out. But at the same time, if you're making more money, that may be a compromise they're willing to make in the short term.
Let me ask you guys this real quick. Is with Epic Universe, because it's kind of it gets the crowds, it gets busy in the morning, but like Wizard said, a lot of the crowds leave mid-afternoon to late afternoon because there's too many e-ticket attractions that attract long out, like several hour lines, and there's not enough smaller attractions to accommodate. Do you think when they start building the expansions, they start adding the smaller attractions and they incorporate the Universal Annual Pass for Epic, it will jumpstart Epic Universe to a whole nother level? Because now you have more to do. You have both the big e-ticket attractions, the smaller attractions, and then you have this open concept idea for Celestial Park and a nighttime entertainment show.
I would argue you don't even, once you get all that stuff in, right? Once you get the nighttime entertainment package, once you get in more attractions, more filler attractions, you need more stuff to do, then you don't need the open hub anymore, because now you have a full park, because now you can do APs and the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I think the open concept would be a short-term thing, because I do agree. Once you've got, I think the full capacity of this park is around 50,000 guests is what they want in here. So if you're,
oh God, I could never imagine 50,000 guests in that park.
I know. You're gonna have to, like, one thing that's park. I mean, they need more. They still haven't done the entertainment stuff in Celestial Park that they were going to do. I don't know where the status of that is. That's something you could bring in here, but you definitely need more. Just like we went to Magic Kingdom yesterday for Mother's Day, and Mickey's PhilharMagic, stuff like that. They just pop into 20-minute shows here, whatever. They definitely need more stuff like that. And I think, listen, you talk 10-year timeline. I mean, this park is Universal's Magic Kingdom. That's what they want it to be. They want it to be their flagship park. So they're going to continue to invest and add to it. I think within 10 years, 15 years, it's going to be a park that probably battles it out in the top 5 when you're talking about long term. But that is, I don't know. I'm curious if they anticipated these wait time issues with all the restaurants they built and planned on building, or if this was something that popped up and they were like, oh no, we have these wait time issues. Like, I would love to know if they knew this going in, but it's definitely an issue. I can tell you, like, we were there on Thursday. Like, I still love the park, but my gosh, like, it's just all day. Even Yoshi's Adventure, I mean, it posted a 50-minute wait. I only waited 25, but still, for a ride like that, it should be 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Especially an Omni mover.
Yeah, it's just a very short Omni mover. And I think that's the thing here. It's like, but here's the thing I'm curious about. We all know like filler attractions are needed, but like in the modern age with theme parks, if Disney or Universal, which is funny to me, like a lot of the timeless attractions are these dark rides. They're very simple, but if they're like, hey, we got a new dark ride in here, it's a kiddie ride, I feel like they would get lambasted by the internet. But it's something these parks need. Like, not everything has to be a big attraction. You do need little things here and there.
I think you could do those smaller rides, those smaller attractions, but still have a modern sort of touch to them, utilizing newer technologies and what have you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So, like, for a perfect example of this, actually, a perfect example out here in California, in our Cars Land, we have the Luigi's Dancing Cars.
Yeah, Roller Roadsters.
Now that's a trackless vehicle that spins around and goes around like a little area, and it's very much like a next generation teacup ride.
Yeah,
but it's new enough and technologically advanced enough where it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's different, you know. I think if the Epic Universe does that, another example, their carousel in that park.
I was going to mention that.
That's the same thing, right? So I think stuff like that is kind of how you approach that. Because I agree with you, Jared. You do not want to put like another Dumbo in there, like that kind of ride.
Right.
It has to be different, you know? So
well, it has to fit that epic motif. So it's got to be a kind of celestial, depending on where they put it, if it's in a celestial park. But I think that's the challenge they have. And I'm curious how they address it. Like, obviously, like I've been told that the Ministry of Magic expansion is going to be a broomstick ride. I don't know to what scale or level, but you need, get these big e-ticket ones. Well, I don't know what scale it's going to be compared to Battle with the Ministry, but you just need more stuff where you can just, the easiest thing would be shows. They have 2 main shows, get you up to 3, 4, 5 of those. That's going to help stuff. And it's cheaper to build those. I think things like that would definitely help this park out. I'm sure they probably have plans for it, but go ahead, Vash.
Well, look, Encanto is not going to be an e-ticket from what I have seen. It's going to be, I think, a very impressive family-friendly dark ride, but it's not going to be the e-ticket that I think Indiana Jones, they intend for that to be. You do have different gradations of attractions, and we've seen Universal invest in stuff like that before. Like, for example, Secret Life of Pets over there at Universal Studios Hollywood, right?
Love that, right?
It's not necessarily an e-ticket attraction, but it does facilitate the purpose of, providing entertainment for that wider audience, right? Sure. And I think you're going to see a mixture of different things come to Epic Universe in order to solve these capacity attractions once and for all. But honestly, I think this open concept, I don't think it's a short-term thing. I think it's here to stay because, they did not build a city walk for a reason.
But if they had a city walk, I wonder if it would stay open though, like open Celestial Park. If they have a city walk.
Well, yeah. If they added a city walk, then the whole dynamic changes. But I think I don't necessarily see that, but we might be shocked, we might be surprised. I just think a lot of that restaurant corridor, that interior right there, was built that way for a reason. This is going to stay with us.
Well, it's also interesting, Vash. We're limited out here in space in California. So any way they can sort of like get creative with utilizing these acres that we got from Disneyland forward,
right?
I mean, theoretically, right? Like that third park, you probably don't have enough room for a city walk. I mean, not a city walk, like a downtown Disney, right? Mm-hmm. So you build that park and you do what Universal's doing. You open up the.
I'm telling you, OG. I think a lot of the industry's looking at this and seeing if this is a viable method going forward. Can we have an interior of a park, if built properly? Can we have an interior of a park be opened up for everybody so that way we almost never have a situation in which this park is empty? And look, I remember conversations before DCA 2.0 where they were talking about opening up DCA for everybody. and having the attractions separately serviced via tickets and so forth. I mean, that was a discussion they were having, back in 2007 or something like that? And the open hub concept has predates even that. So I think a lot of the industry is looking at that, including Disney, especially when it comes to the landlocked state that Disneyland is, and how, if you go forward in one way, maybe you can't facilitate every single audience. Maybe it doesn't make sense revenue wise and so forth. Can we overcome those issues with a landlocked resort that we have? They're definitely looking at this because Universal was in the same position that Disneyland was in not too long ago. Yeah. They could not build unless they got rid of something. And then, they bought more land, and it went wild, maybe Lockheed, we'll see. And they were able to open that up. But for right now, you just got to be able to utilize these things to the nth degree, especially in California, where it's such a premium. They're looking at this.
Well, one thing I would say, I agree with you. I think it'll happen. I'm curious about the long term of it. The only thing that makes me think they probably will do a City Walk 2.0, and maybe with shopping, and maybe they don't do as many restaurants because of if they have an open celestial park. But that convention center right there is so much foot traffic that if you had a City Walk area or something like that, that was just, even if it was a mall like a Disney Springs type of thing, I think that could go pretty well for them. So being so close to the convention center, I think changes some of the dynamics of what they might do, given how much traffic that brings in. But you could do an open celestial park concept and a City Walk 2.0. I mean, if it works for them, they'll keep doing it. I mean, if it's successful, even as the park continues to grow in capacity, I don't see them willing to just cut that down if they're making money that way.
That's true.
They don't like to cut revenue streams when they have them. So I guess if it didn't work, maybe they would reevaluate it. But I don't. Right. I think it would go over pretty well, especially with locals.
Well, let me bring this up because Vash, you actually brought this up with Epic Universe with Celestial Park possibly being an open concept, and Epcot maybe dabbing into that, because me and OG, I know OG is going to get excited. Then the excitement is going to come out of him right now. I can see it. But with the third park for the Disneyland Resort, possibly floating the idea of a Westcott.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think the Westcott, if it goes into the Toy Story parking lot, could be this open concept, style park and build it like Epic?
Yeah, I mean, Westcott featured some of those things, by the way. Now, not quite an open concept like we're seeing in Epic, but remember the restaurants and so forth, they were supposed to be on the lower floors of these hotels that would provide a barrier around there. They would provide a berm around this whole thing. Absolutely fascinating. It's construction. I think that's the smartest play, honestly. I think with the third park, it's the smartest play. If, in fact, you don't get your hands on the garden walk, which... when you look at the layout of what's actually going on there, it just makes so much sense to get the garden walk. But if you don't actually end up doing that, the smartest play is to basically do a Westcott type concept. Now, they probably theme it differently. They wouldn't do the Westcott thing, but it would probably be a grab bag of different experiences like we see there. But having hotels encapsulate the park around.
Oh man!
And having your interior corridor with attractions, or maybe even attractions that actually are on the lower floors of these hotels, and those are the show buildings, and up above you have your rooms and so forth. That is absolutely a thing that I think they're pursuing, because the problem with Disneyland currently is that they do not have the hotel space that Walt Disney World or basically any other place enjoys. In order to, and we were supposed to get it with Cars Land and DCA 2.0. We were supposed to have new towers. We were supposed to have new hotels go along with that. And they just never built them. And the problem is when it comes to these new attractions, these new additions, you have to be able to capitalize on them revenue wise. One of the biggest ways to do that is your hotel inventory. They need it desperately. To have a theme park resort the size of Disneyland and only having 3,000 rooms is insane, legitimately insane, especially OG, you know that area very well. Look at how many new hotels have gone up around them. It's crazy the amount of investment that they've actually made in hotel rooms all around there. And yet Disneyland only has 3,000 rooms. It is absolutely insane.
It's insane. And we've seen Disney incorporate the Grand Californian into DCA, right? Years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we've seen even more recently with Tokyo, which actually, ironically, a lot of the Imagineers that worked on the Tokyo projects are actually working on our stuff, which is encouraging.
Very encouraging. Yes.
That's encouraging.
Yeah. I think, what is it? The Imagineering head that oversaw Tokyo is now overseeing Anaheim or whatever. Yeah, right. I did see that. But look, I mean, Tokyo has 3 hotels now that actually, provide that barrier around those parks. Yep. Disneyland Paris, the Helios, Grand California, like it works. And we're hearing that Magic Kingdom might be thrown into that fray too. We'll have to see about that because remember that just came out recently. The hotel in a park concept, and maybe even including the open hub concept, I think is the way to go for very land restricted operations. Disneyland is prime for this. Tony Baxter got it right 25-30 years ago when he pitched the living the dream. That's what they called it. You would live kind of in a theme park. Your lower levels would have your shows and attractions. One day I got to do a show on Westcott because it defies.
I'd love to be part of it.
It's so brilliant how they laid that whole thing out. But that's got to be the plan for Toy Story. I can't see that just dedicated to resort space. I think the flex space kind of permitting that they got is there for a reason.
Well, and it's the future, right? Like over in my area, they actually demolished a mall and an AMC, and they're building like this Rams village, and it's there's a training facility for the Rams connected to this thing, but part of this whole Rams village, they're gonna have like retail and like hotels and residential and everything. It's like all like mixed use stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's close to me, but like honestly, you're seeing that kind of thing everywhere in this country. Even OC Vibe across from right? OC Vibe is going to be the same kind of mixed use thing. So it makes sense that theme parks are going to get in on that, right? Where you have attractions and retail, hotels all built into these things. And you need to when you're limited on space, So go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is the future.
Well, see, it's interesting you mentioned that because I told you this a long time ago, OG. I've never told you this, Vash, but this would be my idea if they could pull it off because obviously Disneyland Forward is a 40-year project. So obviously stuff's not going to pop up overnight. It's just not. So if you look at the Toy Story parking lot, even if you have Garden Walk, but if you have the Toy Story parking lot, what's adjacent to the Toy Story parking lot? You have the Anaheim Convention Center and that whole plot of land with the hotels. Now, the Anaheim Angels, I call them the Anaheim Angels, even though they call them the Los Angeles Angels. I don't understand that.
Do they really call themselves the Los Angeles Angels?
They do. It's stupid.
What?
Yeah,
they do.
It's weird.
It's dumb. But they've been flown the idea of, possibly relocating somewhere in Orange County. So if they got rid of the Anaheim Stadium and somehow they took out the Anaheim Convention Center, all those hotels, moved it to that footprint of Angel Stadium, that would make the Toy Story parking lot a legit park because now you have the Toy Story parking lot and you have the adjacent parking lot or the lot where the Anaheim Convention Center sits. And I kind of feel that the Garden Walk could be a hotel like the Contemporary, and you expand the monorail. That's what I think Disney should do.
Dude, you're speaking my language. I would love something like that, dude. That would be incredible. And I think the Garden Walk thing will eventually happen, by the way. I think the reason why they haven't bought it, I don't think they want to babysit the retail. Like, I don't think they want to take care of it for 10 years or 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're just going to swoop up and get it when they're closer to actually like using the space.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Josh.
I walked in there and it's like a dead zone.
It's horrible.
There's
But
nothing.
Except for that club. That's the only thing that makes any money.
Yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
Right. What's so weird about that is that I think it's come up for sale like a couple times, and Disney balked every time. And it just, when you look at the layout of how this all works, it's so clear. The garden walk is your connective tissue between the Toy Story lot and the Eastern Gateway and to your Disneyland proper. Like it's just like, it just makes so much sense, too much sense to just leave it out there and not actually do anything with it. It's just, you're never going to find that grouping of land again. They should absolutely purchase it. I think you're right, OG. I think there are some problems with having to, facilitate leases and all of that. And and there's some complications there, but still, I mean, it's just like, it's the other problem too, is that once you have more attractions in the space at Disneyland and maybe even Toy Story Lot or whatever, now Garden Walk, that goes up in value, not down. Yeah. So that's the other thing too, that's a dangerous game that you play.
I was actually wondering, I wonder if they're waiting for that really to die down to get it at a cheaper price, and they can drive that down.
But it's happened like twice now. That's the thing. It's like, this is only going to be more valuable as time goes on, not less, I would think anyway.
Right. I mean, so it's like this of what you guys are talking about, like, sports have been doing this for a while. Like I know in St. Louis with the new Cardinal Stadium, they had like a whole ballpark village. It was like shopping, hotels, like you're seeing them all do this. So it makes sense to bring that idea into a theme park setting where you've got all this built. I mean, it almost makes way more sense in a theme park setting than it does for a ballpark, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Maybe the Rams will buy Garden Walk. I never know, right? Rams Village OC. You never know.
That would be so weird, but it wouldn't shock me, I guess.
No, 100%. But everybody, gentlemen, amazing time. Vash, I'm so happy you were able to make time out of your busy schedule to make this live stream. Can't wait to do more content with you. I want to thank everybody in the chat, especially the people that did the super chats. We got Kiki and Luca. We had View 85, Cool Guy Green 1, and everybody, including again Kiki and Luca, that gifted the memberships. Thank you guys so very much for watching this week of Conductor Sunday live stream. Obviously on the Monday. But OG55, I'm going to start with you. Where can everybody find you on social media? And thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, it was a really great time talking all this nerdy stuff with you guys. As always, I want to thank everybody in the chat as well. Thank you so much. But you can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55. You can also catch me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55, and you can catch me on X, Orange Grove 55.
Love it. Jared, always great to have our East Coast correspondent with us. Thank you for joining. Thank you for staying up late. I love those shades, man. Those shades really fit you. There we go. There we go.
Shades. There we go. Yeah.
There he is. Capture the Maverick. I love it.
Capture the Maverick.
Nice.
Now I gotta talk like Sam Elliott. Be like, nice, cold, Coors Light. Just you catch me in the morning, I kind of sound like Sam Elliott, then it goes away by midday. But no, thanks for having me. It's always a good time. Love hanging out with you guys, talking about this stuff. And you can find me at Cap the Magic, like Theme Park Philosophy said, links in the bio. You can check me out there. If you're looking for some more long form content, you're looking for Disney World or Universal Studios Orlando, you can check out CTM Podcast with my wife and I. She's much smarter than me and brings a lot. She's been going to the parks like since she was like 2, so she knows all these things very well. So that's where you can find me, as well as social media if you want. Instagram's the most popular place we hang out, but that's where you can find me. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it, and looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely. And the one and only Mr. Vast Sky from Vast Sky Parkcast. Thank you again for joining and taking time out of your busy schedule to be here tonight. Where can everybody find you on social media?
Well, the best place to find me is going to be on X at Vash Sky right there. You can go ahead and Follow me there to get all the latest updates of what we're doing and maybe my thoughts about all things theme parks, which, by the way, we're going to be covering on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern following that Park Place. We're going to be talking about this Jeff Vahle situation right here and what that all means for Walt Disney World and its future and maybe its present. Oh, it's very interesting stuff indeed. We're also going to be talking about the state of Fantasmic right now. Boy, is that in terrible shape over there at Disneyland Resort. That's not good. The Disney company also patented this new AI, I guess, powered dispatch system or seatbelt checking system right there. We're going to be talking about that as well, along with a whole lot more news and coverage that actually emanates from the week. And then on Saturday, we do a special show, that being for the Sky Watchers, the members of Vash Sky Parkcast, with Vash and Vixen. And this week, we're going to be talking about Disney's history with Polynesia. Very interesting stuff if you actually, look at it on a what is it, elongated timeline. Very cool stuff. You want to go ahead and join us for that, you got to become a member. But $2.99, I think it's reasonable for that show, because boy, we just love putting it on for you. So please go over to Vash Sky Parkcast, subscribe now. We are very close, actually. I just checked the numbers. Very close to 5,000. So become the part of that 5,000 club. Get on in. We do some great stuff. Thank you so much, Theme Park Conductor, for having me on.
Ash, real quick, before we get out of here, can we get one Christine Waistlines McCarthy before we leave?
Oh, Christine Waist. Oh, do I have it on this one? Let me see if I do.
Let's see. I hate to put it on the spot, but it's still good.
wait, is that? It's
Robot.
I do believe, and then what?
Christine Waistlines McCarthy.
I believe is the thing, right?
There she is.
So,
I love it.
Man,
Oh my God.
it's so crazy how she said that. I do have the audio of her saying that. I just haven't played it anywhere. But so insane. Look, guys, executives, man. We the internet never forgets, and neither do I.
The only guy that could deliver that line without getting hate is Arnold. He's like, your waistlines are too big. Okay, you people, smaller portions. Okay, all right, Arnold, we get it.
Confusing portion sizes.
Yeah,
Exactly. But now with Christine Waistlines McCarthy gone, we might have to update that to Dana.
That's true. That's true. Oh boy, that's
keep it relevant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you gotta keep it relevant.
Keep it
balance all the time.
Keep it relevant.
Oh wow. But I want to thank our amazing guests, everybody in the chat, for watching tonight, and you guys have a wonderful night.
You as well.
Thank you.
Oh.